Chapter 36, Safe Haven. Hiding in plain sight has a certain bitter sweetness, like a forbidden fruit that's ripe with danger, yet pulsating with life. I stepped outside the quaint wooden cabin, its weathered boards whispering secrets of isolation and brave adventures, as I breathed in the deeply fragrant scent of pine, mingling with the crisp air. Overhead, the sky was an intense sapphire canvas, sprinkled with wisps of cotton-soft clouds. The grandeur around me was disorienting, nature in its untouched glory, where everything felt heightened and eerily calm. Elijah's laugh broke through my thoughts, a warm, rich sound that made my heart pulse with a familiar thrill. He stood rummaging through a battered duffel bag that had seen better days, his hands emerging with a vibrant football. His eyes sparkled, alive, and the boyish charm that flickered within him felt electric. Care to join me, or are you too immersed in art critique? He tossed the football my way with a playful grin, and I caught it deftly, the air around me lighting up with the thrill of the game. Why do I get the feeling you're planning to make me the target of your passing skills? I shot back, teasing him as I took a few steps back, sizing up the makeshift yard. You realize I'm wearing a dress, right? Elijah shrugged, his eyes glinting with mischief. All the more reason to show those fashionistas at the gallery how rugged you can be. Besides, it's not like you to back down from a challenge. I rolled my eyes, but an undeniable smile tugged at my lips. The competitive spark in his gaze ignited something deeper within me. A fierce resolution to escape both the confines of my marriage and my carefully manicured existence. Okay, fine. Just don't blame me when you lose. I sprinted forward, adrenaline coursing through my veins, heart racing as I threw the ball back with surprising force. I heard the satisfying thud against his chest before he skillfully twisted to throw it back. You underestimate me far too often, Shawnna. He dodged a shrub as I lunged to catch the ball, the fabric of my sundress fluttering in the slipstream, painting a portrait of motion amid the stillness of the forest. Defense, shooter. I laughed, darting away, my intentions more playful than strategic. The sun glinted through the trees, illuminating his form with an ethereal glow, and his laughter danced with the sound of rustling leaves. But joy can be a fickle companion, and the sweet moments often mask bitter undertones lurking just beneath the surface. We were dodging more than just footballs here. Under the facade of this idyllic getaway, shadows stretched between us, harboring secrets waiting for their inevitable reckoning. Shawnna, he called, his tone now serious as he moved closer. Can we talk about what happened last night? My stomach twisted. A confrontation loomed that I wasn't sure I was ready for. Can we not? I replied, every fiber of my body ready to escape into another moment of laughter. Not just yet, because it won't go away. He moved closer, intensity flooding his gaze, breaking my defenses without a word. The air thickened with the fragility of our undiscussed truths, and the mountain stillness became a backdrop to our unresolved emotions. If you're worried about Ben, I began, my voice a whisper, I'm doing my best to distance myself. You know how he can be. Elijah's jaw clenched imperceptibly. This is so much bigger than him, Shawnna. You know it. I can't just watch you go back into that gilded cage. Because it's so easy for you, right? I shot back, the fire igniting. You're not the one navigating this labyrinth of demands and expectations. You don't understand what it's like to smile through the doubt, the constant scrutiny. Then help me understand. I'm right here, but all I see is you drowning in an ocean of images you're using to shield yourself. His arms waved animatedly, as if to reach toward the depths of my insecurities. I know you're passionate. Art is your lifeblood. But if you keep diving back into that world where you stifle your true self. You think you know me, Elijah? My words shot out, crackling with hurt. Just then, the football rolled away unnoticed, disappearing into the wilderness, symbolically severing the joy we had just shared. He took a step closer, his tone softening, yet penetrating. No, and still learning. You're like a masterpiece, one that keeps transforming even before my eyes. But I need to protect you from the people who would never appreciate the beauty in your unpredictability." "Protect me?" I scoffed, folding my arms defensively. "From whom? Or what? A life of expectations? Or maybe you're afraid that if I embrace my desires, I'll realize you're exactly the kind of wild card I couldn't risk losing." Silence stretched between us. My words lingered heavily, sharpening the air, and Elijah sucked in a breath like he was about to dive into the depths of the ocean. The tension crackled in the space where laughter once lived, suffocating our previous joys. Just then, Shawnna, our friend and a restless spirit, strolled onto the scene, her piercing laughter washing over the tension like a burst of sunlight slicing through clouds. "You two lovebirds are about as subtle as a sledgehammer," she quipped, hands on her hips, her expression teasing yet knowing, arguing over paint colors or discussing the merits of contemporary art against the backdrop of whatever this is. She gestured humorously around, her vibrant attire a stark contrast to the raw, naturalistic surroundings. Color crept into my cheeks, thoughts forgotten, yet Elijah didn't falter. We were just having a discussion about Shawnna's epic ability to be a people-pleaser. "That's rich coming from you, Mr. Great Expectations," Shawnna shot back, her smile blinding. "Give it a rest. You guys are perfect together. Why not celebrate that instead of dissecting it like critics in an art gallery?" "Because," my chest felt tight, not from anger this time, because sometimes the space between us feels like a chasm, and the fears we carry weigh heavier than the worlds I aspire to create. "Oh, honey," Shawnna said, her teasing reined in as she stepped closer. "The only thing weighing you down is the idea that you can't both create beauty and embrace the wild in you. You can have both. You are both." Elijah looked from Shawnna to me, the air around us tinged with a vulnerability I hadn't sensed before. "She's right, Shawnna. No one can take away your art or your pride in who you are. You don't need to deny your desires." But beneath his encouraging words, I sensed a current of fear. His vulnerability echoed in the uncertainty. It made my heart ache with the gravity of what was at stake. The plea rested in his eyes. Was I ready to lose everything? For freedom? For him? In that charged silence, I felt the whirling complexity of our lives, threatening to swallow us whole. I stepped forward hesitantly, the distance between us still fraught with echoes of the past. "Elijah," I whispered, raw sincerity flooding me. "I'm scared. I don't want to lose you, but maybe losing everything is the price I must pay to discover what's truly mine." His gaze softened, enchantingly intense, as he tucked a loose strand of hair behind my ear. The world dimmed around us, leaving just the two of us, suspended in this fragile moment. "What if I told you," he murmured, "that losing everything is sometimes a small price to pay for finding yourself?" I felt my breath quicken. It was as if every longing, every unarticulated desire crackled between us, the perfect storm waiting for its release. And suddenly, I didn't want to talk anymore. I wanted to leap into the chaos. I kissed him then, hard, desperate, and consuming. The world exploded like vibrant paint splatters between us, merging into a chaotic masterpiece, colored with longing and reckless abandon. "Shawnna," he murmured against my lips, but I captured his breath, shaking my head, pouring everything I could into the kiss, infusing the moment, our desires igniting into a wild inferno. "It's now or never," I breathed against his mouth, feeling the electric pulse between us burn brighter. I didn't just want to be his muse, I wanted to be the artist of my life. "For once, I'm with you," he urged, his arms wrapping around my waist, pulling me closer, until there was no air, no uncertainties, just us. As the football rolled unnoticed into the underbrush, we lost ourselves in the joy of the moment without reservation. The world beyond disappeared, a mere illusion, as surrender enveloped our loving chaos, a sanctuary built on two relentless hearts entwined in passion. And there, under the expansive canopy of trees and the vastness of budding stars, we began navigating the beautifully messy territory of desire, a place where love's fierce grip and the wild freedom of our souls intermingled. "I want this," I whispered against his neck, feeling the throb of his heartbeat beneath my lips. "I want you, us," I reiterated, with the certainty burning in my chest, even as the echoes of the past faded momentarily into darkness. "Then let's not waste a minute," he replied, and I could feel each unspoken promise unfold, glimmering with the exhilarating thrill of new beginnings. A new dawn awaited us, and for the first time, I felt like I could embrace everything I had been running from. "Let's paint outside the lines," I declared, my heart finally unfurling into the light. With that, the world spun on, and nothing seemed improbable anymore. Chapter 37. Secrets Revealed. The scent of sandalwood filled the air of the secluded loft, a refuge created from sprawled canvases and the gentle glow of amber-hued lights. I sat on the soft rug, the weave cool against my fingertips, and watched through the wide windows as the city withdrew into twilight's fabric. Each flicker of streetlight felt like a pulse of the world outside, rhythmically reminding me of the chaos I was cultivating beneath this serene surface. "Elijah," I murmured, my voice soft, nearly lost in the quiet hum of the room. I could feel the tension coiling within me like a spring, drawing tighter with every passing second. "What are we doing here?" He stood just beyond the thin boundary of daylight, a silhouette against the luminescent cityscape. I marveled at him, his form poised as if straddling the precipice of two worlds, the familiarity of my perfectly manufactured life and the untamed wilderness of desires he had ignited within me. "We're escaping," he replied, his voice deep and rich, like a dark chocolate melting slowly on the tongue. "But to escape, we must first confront the shadows lurking in our pasts." I frowned, feeling the weight of his words. "Shadows?" I let the word hang, inviting elaboration while skirting too close to the revelation I feared most. "Yeah, like the ghosts you thought you could bury," he said, a hint of humor lacing through the gravity of the moment. I never expected my past to haunt me like a bad guest at a dinner party, always overstaying its welcome. "Dramatic much?" I shot back, evoking a giggle that felt unsettlingly out of place in the tension brewing between us. My heart raced. I wanted nothing more than the lightness of laughter, and yet I was equally drawn to the depth of his honesty, the intoxicating mix of danger and magnetism. "Maybe it's a theatrical tendency," he smiled, his eyes glimmering with mischief. "But this is serious, Shawnna. I need you to trust me." The air crackled, vibrating with an energy that draped itself over us like silk. I leaned forward, meeting his gaze as the silences lengthened, pulsing between stolen looks. "What are you not telling me?" Elijah moved closer, the warmth radiating from him enough to erase the chill creeping through my core. His hand brushed against mine, a mere whisper of contact, yet I could feel it pulse like a live wire. "It's complicated," but the simplicity of my craving for him drowned out his caution. I had reached a saturation point where the walls of my carefully curated life threatened to implode. I stood, the need propelling me forward. "Then let's complicate it together." He stepped back, raising an eyebrow, teasing. "Now, that's a proposition I can't refuse." For a heartbeat, the world shrunk to just us. The intimacy of this place, a hideaway, a sanctuary, invited something more than mere confessions. Drawing in a breath, I closed the distance further, our silhouettes melding together like shadows. "Share your secrets with me, Elijah. I promise I'll share mine." He hesitated, eyes narrowing slightly. The weight of his past cast shadows over us, a tempest concealed just beneath the surface. "Then you'd better brace yourself," he murmured, pausing as if to test my resolve. "This one's a doozy." "Try me," I whispered, leaning in, entranced. The room shifted. Suddenly our distance evaporated. He slid an arm around my waist, pulling me closer as he whispered the story of his latest troubles. A powerful crime syndicate had caught wind of his connection to me and used it against him. Blackmail festered in his words, coating the air with an urgency. "They're playing games, using you as bait to keep me quiet," he said, his voice careful, weighted. "And I can't let that happen." I shivered at the enormity of it. My past struggled to reassert its grasp through the longing and excitement I felt when he was near, fighting against an undercurrent of fear. "You're putting yourself in danger. And you're allowing this lovely cage to bind you." He cupped my face in his hands, eyes searching mine, his thumb tracing my cheekbones soothingly. I could feel the desperation mingling with something profound in that gaze. "Why do you want to be shackled to illusions?" I exhaled a shaky breath as he drew ever nearer, a light shiver ignited along my spine. That's just it. I've spent so long masquerading in colors I didn't choose. Until you stepped in, I didn't know there was any other way to live. And now? He angled his head, creating a dangerous spark between our lips. "Now I want everything." My own words dared to echo in the charged atmosphere, fortifying my resolve. They wrapped around both our truths, glistening with the infinitude of possibilities. Even the mess, even the risk. A playful smile brightened his features, that cocky light taking over as he realized the siren of this moment had ensnared us both. "Messy is my specialty." And with that, the tension snapped. In one smooth motion, Elijah spun me around, pinning me against the wall as if we were caught in a whirlwind only we could tame. He kissed me fiercely, igniting a fire that burned through the silks of caution and tradition. In that ecstatic spiral, I felt as if we were fusing, each thrust of his lips holding a promise, a declaration that echoed through the very windows brightening the scene. Here was vulnerability wrapped in desire, allowing our truths to meld into a passionate crescendo. "Why must you insist on pushing me beyond reason?" he growled between kisses, igniting cracks of laughter in my heart. "Because otherwise," I breathlessly replied, "we'll become yet another footnote in our neatly pulled society. I refuse to fade away as someone else's idea of suitable." We lost ourselves in that contradiction, learning about one another as the rush of uncharted territories surged through our veins. The weight of Elijah's secrets melted into our movements, and every tilt of his body against mine sent ripples of shivers along my spine. "Show me that freedom you speak of," he instructed, every word deliberate. I reveled in the command lacing his tone, craving the blend of dominance and surrender, two opposites harmonizing within our wild abandon. As we sank into the depths of our desires, I could no longer tell where I ended and he began. Laughter bubbled between gasps, punctuating each discovery. We danced through the chaos, intoxicated by the rawness of our truths. "Shawnna," he murmured, his breath warm against my collarbone, anchoring me as my world expanded like a breath unfurling. "You've ignited something in me that I thought was dead, something fierce." "And you are the fire, Elijah," I admitted, wrapping my fingers through his hair, our gaze intertwining, locking into the shared madness. We burned together. He grinned, the mischief in his eyes sparking an appetite far more primal than art could capture. "Then let's create our masterpiece." As we surrendered to the raw urgency of our desires, the sweet collision of skin against skin and whispers morphed into a symphony of breath. Nothing felt as sacred as our intimate chaos. Nothing except the deeper commitment we forged amid the flames, vowing to confront the madness outside. The quiet of the loft roared with the sound of unspoken pledges as we tangled deeper into one another, crafting a world where our shadows held our secrets. Each revelation, a brushstroke in the great painting we dared to co-create. I breathed in, stealing a taste of our shared uncharted path, already too intoxicating to measure, the taste of pure, unscripted love pulsing along our intertwined fates. "Tell me," I breathed, tilting my head back, captured in the sheer magic of the moment, "is it better than they make it seem?" Far better, he growled, crashing back into me. And as the world outside dimmed and blurred into insignificance, I knew we would face whatever the shadows held together. For what we created would defy their grasp. Chapter 38, Echoes from the Past. The rich, earthy scent of freshly ground coffee mingled with the slight bitterness of my lingering doubts as I leaned against the granite countertop in the kitchen. My fingers traced the smooth edge of a white porcelain mug, a stark contrast to the chaos brewing inside me. A thin line separated patience from desperation, but my composure was teetering and swirling like the steam rising from the cup. Just then, the doorbell rang. Startled, I nearly dropped the mug. Who could be here this early? My heart raced as I turned to the door, the faint sound of footsteps echoing in the hallway behind me, sharp and decisive. "What are you doing, Shawnna?" Elijah's voice was playful, yet strained, as though he sensed my sudden tension. He stood in the doorway of the kitchen, his posture commanding, yet inquisitive. "Nothing," I replied too quickly, holding the mug like a lifeline. "Just making coffee." "Coffee? You'd think we were getting ready for an art exhibit," he teased, but I could see the concern creeping into his dark eyes. "You okay?" "I'm fine, Elijah. Just a visitor." Before Elijah could respond, the door swung open with a force that felt almost predatory. I clenched my teeth as I registered the figure standing there. Damon, my estranged husband, his arrival as unexpected as the winter storm that rattled the nearby oak trees. The air shifted, heavy with the memories of our strained past as he stepped into what had become my sanctuary. "Shawnna," he said, cutting through the tension as if it were merely paper. "We need to talk." "What are you doing here?" I blurted, venom seeping into my words. "This is not the time, Damon." Elijah moved instinctively, a protective stance that echoed his underlying vulnerability, pricking at a hidden wound of my past. "Now that's a bold way to enter someone's home," he said, voice steady, the sharp edge of his charm returning like an old friend. Damon's gaze flickered between us, measuring the distance, the emotional landscapes we had ached to keep separate. "Your husband deserves some respect, don't you think?" he returned smartly, infusing the air with a heat I hadn't expected. "Respect?" I felt the heat rush to my face, disbelieving, incredulous. "You have a funny way of showing it." "I came to make sure everything is all right," he said, his tone shifting, as though he were offering me charity instead of the facts of life. "Everything is fine, just as long as you don't think you can waltz back into my life, pretending like you own the place." I moved closer to Elijah, igniting our joint current, for I felt safe standing next to him, our energies entwined. "It's Mrs. Baptiste to you," I cut him off, the words burning on my tongue. Elijah's hand brushed my back, a subtle anchor grounding me. "Enough games. If you're here to cause trouble, it won't go well for you," he warned, the warmth of his presence a steady fortification against Damon's presence. "Who is this guy, seriously?" Damon dismissed Elijah with an exaggerated gesture, but his eyes burned with jealousy. "I didn't realize you were the kind of person who played with fire. If that's how you want to live, fine. But at least choose someone who can handle himself." Elijah's jaw tightened, and the air thickened palpably between us. "I can guarantee I'm not the one who needs mothering, Damon." Suddenly, laughter erupted from the balcony, where our friends Valentina and Marcus huddled together, blissfully unaware of the tension bubbling in the air. "What's going on? A reunion?" Valentina shouted, not quite grasping the undertones of discord. "Not quite," I replied, pouring on a facade of casualness, forcing a lightness I didn't feel. Marcus appeared before me, his hand raised jokingly. "I'll bet he didn't even bring flowers. Some husband you got there, Shawnna." "Flowers can't unwound broken promises," Damon shot. His words sliced through the atmosphere again, their weight all too recognizable. I felt the warmth beside me shift. Elijah straightened, tension radiating from him in waves. "Remember why we're here, Damon," he said, a measure of calm, but woven with the strain. "You were the one who let her go." "Is that how it works? Just let go?" Damon quipped, shifting back to me, his expression hardening. You're too stubborn to see what's happening here, aren't you? Now, we were at a breaking point, and I stepped in front of Elijah, forcing myself to stay steady. This is not a discussion about us. Damon's eyes narrowed, dark with arrogance. You think you can just walk away from your past? It doesn't work that way. This is unfinished. I took a calming breath, scanning the faces of my closest friends, hastily gathering in the kitchen, their disbelief blending with concern. Valentina nudged Marcus, whispering, "Maybe we should get popcorn." "More like screaming," he whispered back, prompting a quickly stifled laugh from Valentina. "Well, let's not turn this into a dinner show," Elijah warned, as tension snapped between us like a taut string, the audience now watching closely. "Damon," I said, regaining control, "you're threatening a bond that took years to build. You have no place here. You've burned that bridge." "Bridges can be rebuilt," he sneered, his statement hanging in a delicate balance, but a twitch of something more was bubbling beneath his surface. "Okay, I think we've all heard enough," Marcus interjected, stepping forward in a classic peacemaker style. "Why don't we take a break? Maybe grab some pizza?" "Pizza? Really?" Elijah quipped, a smile breaking through the tension for the briefest moment. Damon shifted uneasily, and I seized the moment. "Yes, let's go have pizza with them instead. You need to leave." "I'm not leaving until you listen to me," he griped, clearly out of his depth among our budding laughter. "Trust me, you don't want to become a problem. This isn't exactly my bachelor pad," Elijah retorted, his smile curling provocatively at the edges. "Shawnna, you can't possibly want him around." "Damon," I stepped closer this time, dropping my voice low. "You don't get to lecture me about what I want. Is this what you want?" He gestured disdainfully towards Elijah. "Someone who doesn't care if you crumble?" "Watch it," Elijah warned, the playfulness extinguished from his tone. I stood in the tight connection between them, a tension-filled sanctuary of emotion and determination. "Elijah cares more than you realize. He sees me, far beyond the skin-deep obligations you cloaked me in." "What a catch," Damon sneered, flipping the boundaries again. "Elijah knows what it's like to be trapped in pain and is brave enough to seek out joy through all the ashes, something you, for once in your life, seem unable to grasp," I snapped, my own words echoing like bullets. The fight surged inside me, igniting a truth I had buried for far too long. "Hecate, just hear him out," Valentina called. But I wasn't listening. In that moment, I grasped for Elijah's hand, finding it, desperately cradling it as if the simple touch could mute the noise of our past. "I think you should leave," I said firmly, ignoring Damon's bleeding heart. "You don't get to dictate how I live anymore." Damon opened his mouth, but whatever taunts or empty threats he had were lost beneath the sound of my heart pounding in response to Elijah's squeeze. We were tethered, existing in our own tempest, a fierce intimacy pulsing between us, undeterred, defying logic. "Stay out of this," Damon's ire flickered dangerously, ignoring my refusal to tolerate his intrusion. "I suggest you leave before I make a scene," Elijah said, an edge sharpening his voice, vividly portraying the type of fierceness Damon once failed to embody. "Who's going to listen to you anyway?" Damon replied scornfully. "People will listen when they see someone who truly values what they love," Elijah shot back, glaring. "Enough," I commanded, a wave of authority landing heavily between us, quieting the chaos like a restive flame seeking solitude. "Why are you so willing to throw us away, Shawnna?" Damon said, voice dropping to something raw, vulnerable. "You're better than this." But I shook my head, unwilling to relinquish agency, so once more. "Being happy doesn't equate abandoning the past. Letting you go does just that." Damon stepped closer, a soft plea lingering in the air. "I'm all you've known. Don't forget that." With every heartbeat, a resolve rose within me. "That's entirely the point. and why I refuse to let fear dictate my future. Then something in my expression must have cracked beneath the weight of it all. My heart raced under the strain, and Elijah's fingers found my cheek. That tender warmth ignited something deep, fanning the flames of insistence. "Consider this closure," I whispered, fighting against the torrent of emotions colliding within and the haunting deceptions of our history. I glanced at Elijah, pooling potential and power in silence. As Damon opened his mouth one last time, the ghost of what used to bind us got tangled with the truth, a love once pure, now devoid of clarity. "Fine," he spat, threading an ocean of discomfort. "But you'll regret this." As he turned and stomped out, I felt a hollow space begin to unfurl. A truth I had forgotten was hidden within the chaos. "Who wants pizza?" Marcus broke the silence, rushing to pick up Damon's scattered pieces, and Valentina laughed, breaking through the heavy shroud that remained. "Let's order 2 pizzas, one for the drama and one for actual hunger." She chuckled, and the lightness returned, but my focus remained resolutely aligned with Elijah. Out of the corner of my eye, I could see him watching me intently, uncertainty etched on his face. A new challenge emerged, the echoes of my past haunting the chamber still. "I'm sorry you had to see that," I breathed, turning fully toward him, the aching tumult yet to settle. Elijah's gaze softened, a tranquil strength swirling between us. "Don't apologize for something that needed to happen. You need to claim your life." His voice lowered, dipping into gravity, weighted with desire and protection. "And I'll be right beside you to face anything." I wished I could preserve that moment, the promise of understanding blooming in our gaze. Yet the specter of our past hung like smoke, and a yearning pulse traveled through me, pulling him nearer, spiraling together into a silence that beckoned closeness. "Then let's, as long as it's just you and me," I whispered, feeling the rush of his breath against my skin, sparking electricity that felt like fireworks. "Always," he murmured, and leaning into the warmth formed between us, everything faded, leaving just us, cloaked in the tumultuous currents of love, strength, and uncertainty. The echo of complications drew nearer, yet at this moment, with a hand on the brink of desire and danger, I finally exhaled, ready to reclaim my world. "Are we doing pizza?" Valentina piped in again, a playful interruption, and laughter bubbled between us, a sweet release in the aftermath of conflict. But I held steady, feeling that the shadows would grow lighter, and the potential for passion awaited beyond the horizon. Whether the echoes from the past would resurge would be our challenge to embrace, and I was ready now, fully alive. "Pizza it is," I responded, linking arms with Elijah, our laughter cutting through even the heaviest clouds, the future once more igniting within reach. And as the phone rang for orders, all I could think was how freedom indeed was breathing anew. Chapter 39, A Fragile Alliance. How can you trust someone you don't really know? Elijah's voice cut through the clinking of glasses and the buzz of conversation in the dimly lit lounge. He leaned closer, his breath warm against my ear, sending a small thrill coursing through me. "And how can you possibly build trust in a world fueled by deception?" I countered, glancing around the room. The shadows flickered, and beneath the golden lights, the other patrons were blissfully oblivious, wrapped in their own entangled lives. Elijah had a way of making everything feel buoyant, but right now, I could taste the tension festering beneath the surface. "Now's not the time to ponder metaphysics, Shawnna. We need to figure out how to deal with the Van Buren family," he murmured, pulling back just enough to meet my gaze. "Trust is an illusion, Elijah. One I've been forced to wear like a crown," I replied, surprising even myself. Truth dripped from my words, and I realized just how burdened I felt by the expectations that tightened around my neck. I was an art curator by day and a reluctant player in a dangerous game by night. "Let's focus on the real threat, which isn't philosophical," he said, his tone shifting, a flicker of urgency igniting the air between us. "I'm not sure where the Van Burens stand, but I can't let them use you as leverage." Leverage. I let the word hang in the air, full of weight and menace. "You talk as if we're both pawns on a chessboard. I'm not sure I like being part of your game." He smiled wryly, a flicker of admiration sparkling in his dark eyes. Neither am I, but before we can think beyond that, we must secure our position. If they suspect you of anything, then it's dangerous for both of us, I cut in, nodding thoughtfully. My heart raced. Could we really find common ground amid the shifting tides of trust and betrayal? Exactly. We'll be at events where Van Buren's influence looms large. We can't afford to show weakness. His gaze pinned me with unwavering intensity. We need to strike a deal. I know a liaison who might help us. When? I asked, feeling a rush of heat clawing its way up my spine. The idea of entering the underbelly of a world I'd only glimpsed from the outside was daunting. But my desire to break free surged stronger with every beat of my heart. Tomorrow night, the gala at the Reddington estate, Elijah said, his voice steady. I'll get us in. A tempest brewed inside me, torn between fear and thrill. I'd played it safe for too long, and here was Elijah offering a taste of danger that both terrified and exhilarated me. Fine, I conceded, leaning in closer. But if this goes sideways, I won't hesitate to walk away. You underestimate how far I'm willing to go to ensure you stay by my side, he replied, tension threading through every syllable. Meanwhile, in the corner of the bar, Elijah's friend Malik observed us with an amused smirk, leaning back nonchalantly, a glass of whiskey cradled in his hands. You two are like a couple of moths drawn to the flame. Careful, or you'll get singed. Is that right, Malik? Elijah shot back, the lightness of his tone at odds with his earlier urgency. I'm just trying to keep our heads above water here. Sure, just keep telling yourself that before you dive headfirst into the deep end, Malik teased, raising his glass in mock salute. I think a touch of danger is exactly what you need, Shawnna. Break that gilded cage you've been living in. I laughed, my nerves easing slightly. Elijah's eyes flickered with amusement, and I couldn't help but feel drawn to his magnetic energy once more. If you think I'll just fall for your charming bad boy act, think again, I challenged, leaning back playfully. Then maybe you'll surprise me, Elijah replied, holding my gaze steady, the challenge lingering like an unspoken promise. Okay, enough of that, Malik interjected playfully. You're both going to make me sick with your gooey, lovey-dovey banter. We need a plan, not a confession session. He rolled his eyes dramatically before leaning closer, his expression switching from teasing to serious. The Van Burens are nothing if not ruthless. Be careful, both of you. And how would you know? Elijah shot back, eyes narrowing. You seem to prefer making jokes over gathering intel. Simple, Malik said, voice rich with mirth. I've seen what others have suffered trying to outsmart them. If you're not careful, they'll chew you up and spit you out just for fun. Noted, I responded, trying to shake off the creeping dread. In a few hours, these allies could just as easily turn into enemies. Elijah caught my gaze then, and the atmosphere shifted. We'll handle it, whatever it takes, he vowed, and I believed him. That spark of trust, however fragile, felt potent against the backdrop of noise and confusion. The evening wore on with conspiratorial laughter and deceptive ease, but I could sense the looming darkness growing closer. I needed to sort out where I stood, not just with Elijah, but with the whole precarious situation. As the hour grew later, we moved from the lounge to his apartment, the atmosphere thick with anticipation and unresolved tension. The air held an electric quality as we stepped inside, and the door clicked shut behind us, sealing away the outside world. Listen, Elijah murmured, pacing before me now, his voice dipped in something raw. If we're going to make this work, then we need to be honest, I finished for him, my heart thudding, the thrill of this involvement colliding with the uncertainty of it all. Yes, he confirmed, his eyes darkening, and we need to focus on what lies ahead of us, not the past. He stepped closer, all traces of banter slipping away. Then what do we do, Elijah? I breathed, my heart racing in anticipation. He reached for me, guiding my face closer with an intensity that ignited every nerve. We embrace our desires, he said softly, his lips hovering inches from mine. And when our mouths met, it was as if the world outside evaporated. I melted against him, surrendering to the deep hunger that had grown between us. Our kiss was filled with all the untamed passion we couldn't allow to spill into the daylight. It was intoxicating, dizzying. The heat surged as he swept me against the wall, his hands exploring with both urgency and reverence. I gasped against his lips, a thrill racing through me as I yielded, every ounce of uncertainty slipping away. My fingers tangled in his hair, pulling him closer. The world beyond that door, the threats, the entanglements, faded to silence. "Are you sure?" he murmured, pausing, breath mingling with mine. The intensity of his gaze made my heart thunder in my ears. "More than ever," I breathed, tugging him closer, catching the urgency in his demeanor. And in that moment, we discarded our fears and transformed into something vibrant and electric. The shadows outside forgotten, the stakes of our lives waiting to be faced another day. We were entangled, inextricably drawn together in a dance of fervor, passion inching us closer to the precipice of our desires and the chaos that awaited us just beyond tomorrow. "I'm not letting you go," Elijah whispered fiercely, his kiss claiming me with an intimacy that felt both delicate and overwhelming. Neither of us wanted it to end, nor the game we were playing. "Let's be reckless," I suggested, pulling him back down to me, tasting the promise of our unfolding adventure as it lingered on my tongue. "Reckless?" he questioned, mirroring my longing with a smirk. I grinned back, feeling the intoxicating pulse of possibility. "Yes, Elijah, let's embrace it." And as our lips connected once more, I couldn't help but think that love, no matter how chaotic, might just conquer the shadows lurking in the corners of our lives. Chapter 40, Bound by Desire. The first drops of rain splattered against the window with an urgent intensity that mirrored my heart's chaotic rhythm. I stood in our expansive kitchen, fingers deftly twisting a freshly plucked sprig of rosemary between my fingertips. The sharp, herbal scent danced around me, a whisper of nature's vibrancy, in stark contrast to the sterile luxury that enclosed us. Outside, dark clouds swirled ominously, threatening to unleash a storm that felt far too familiar, one of my own making. As I looked out, the world seemed to blur. The autumn leaves swayed violently, their colors vivid yet eroding under the weather's oppressive gaze. I shouldn't feel anxious. I had everything: a thriving career, a seemingly perfect marriage, but instead I felt caged, bathed in electric uncertainty. My phone buzzed insistently on the marble countertop, dispelling silence. "Hey, Shawnna, what's up?" My best friend Tessa greeted with her usual buoyancy, breaking through my reverie. "Not much, just cooking." I glanced at the chopped vegetables that lay lifeless on the cutting board, the simmering pot of soup bubbling away, while my thoughts were spiraling in every direction. "Cooking? Girl, this isn't your therapy hour. Did you manage to catch Elijah before he slipped through your fingers?" Tessa's voice pricked at my thoughts. There was an affection in her insistence, but also an urgency that stirred something in me, something restless and wild. "He's complicated. Always complicated." I ran my fingers through my hair, a habit that betrayed my frustration and hesitation. "We had a moment, but now, with everything going on, I just don't know if I can handle it." "Moments don't count, Shawnna. You've got to take risks. I mean, look at you. You're stunning, talented, stuck in a relationship that suffocates you, and here's this guy who actually sees you. You know what he's doing, right? He's igniting something in you. That's precious." "Or destructive," I muttered. "I don't want to drag him into this mess." Tessa scoffed lightly. "Mess or not, girl, you've got to at least talk to him. Look out that window. That storm brewing? Use the thunder to summon your courage." "Easy for you to say," I half laughed, but the flutter in my chest didn't retreat. What if this storm sends him running? I peered back outside, feeling the clouds growing thick with uncertainty. "Then chase after him, you fearless Virgo," Tessa exclaimed with a chuckle. "Your husband's expecting you to be nothing but dutiful while you're quietly suffering. Make him question everything." I rolled my eyes, but felt my resolve cementing, emboldened by Tessa's insistent encouragement. "I'll think about it," I sighed, hoping to let the thought sit quietly before it turned restless again. "Good! Now save me some soup. I need to be warmed with flavor, and you have the magic touch. Keep me posted. Love ya." "Love you too." I hung up, breathless. I set down the phone, my heart thundering against my ribs, and felt that familiar weight in my gut, the burden of indecision, of my choices. The storm outside thrummed against the glass, as if echoing my internal chaos. Maybe Tessa was right. With nothing but determination fueling my instincts, I knew I could no longer let fear dictate my actions. I needed, no, I craved, to see Elijah, to break free from the chains wrapped around my heart and spirit. The moment I stepped outside into the rain-soaked air, everything shifted. Warm drops collided with my skin, mingling with the rush of adrenaline pulsing through me. The world glistened under the weight of the storm, lighting my path toward an unknown, thrilling possibility. Elijah's apartment was nestled away, bright amid the ocean of gray clouds, plastered against the urban skyline with a presence that felt both inviting and terrifying. I knocked, and the sound echoed in the stillness, a challenge against the chaos and rain swirling outside. He opened the door, a soaked shirt clinging to his frame, his dark curls damp and wild. "Shawnna," he breathed, his voice a warm embrace amid the cold air. "What are you doing here?" "Can I come in?" I asked, my heart racing as I stepped past him, my body on fire with possibility. The scent of wet earth mingled with the rich aroma of coffee, grounding me in a stark reality. Elijah closed the door, his gaze lingering on me for a moment too long, and I could feel the charged silence between us. "I didn't expect to see you here. Not today." I arched an eyebrow, taking in the disarray of his living room, scattered books, loose greens from the market, and a simmering pot on the stove. The chaos mirrored the tumult within me, giving me a momentary sense of comfort. "Neither did I," admitted, shivering slightly. The dampness clung to me, but my resolve radiated warmth. Just needed to feel something other than this. Elijah stepped closer, his eyes burning with an urgency that sent my heart racing. "You shouldn't be here, Shawnna. You're playing with fire." "And do I look burned?" I teased lightly, my voice dancing in the tension that lingered. "I come alive in flames," I added, a challenge wrapped in flirtation, craving the heat of his touch. "That's a dangerous game," he warned. Yet his voice softened. "You need to be sure. Those kinds of flames can consume everything in their wake." "But I'm tired of being consumed by my life," I breathed, feeling the magnetic pull between us intensify, reminding me of our moments together that tore down my walls. "You ignite something in me that feels alive, and if I'm going to gain anything back from this shadow of my life, I need to take chances." The flicker of hesitation in his eyes faltered momentarily, and with one swift motion he closed the distance. "What do you want, Shawnna?" The question hung in the air, like a challenge. I swallowed, tasting the intensity of the moment. "I want everything I've ever wanted." He stepped back, allowing the warmth between us to simmer down, knowing well the risks that chained everything together. Everything is a lot to ask for, especially when we don't have a solid foundation. "What do you think we have?" I shot back, my heart racing. "Standing here, we share something exhilarating. Can't you see that?" He paused, searching my eyes, finding depths he perhaps feared to dive into. "It's not just passion, Shawnna. There's more at stake than just us. I'm not the only one making sacrifices here." "Then let's face it together," I urged. The storm raged outside, a perfect backdrop to my escalating emotions. "I won't let fear dictate our fate anymore. I refuse to be caged." With a breath I believed had the capability to either solve or shatter our connection, maybe both. I stepped closer, locking my eyes with his, seizing the moment before he could pull back. "Shawnna." His voice was gravelly, caught somewhere between tenderness and restraint. "Oh, stop." I leaned into him, feeling the heaviness of both our worlds slip away, yearning for the closeness. You know what this is, the chemistry, the connection. Embrace it. Let's not overthink this. Then, as if the universe conspired to push us over the edge, we were entwined in an inevitable kiss. It ignited everything, the passion, the unspoken fears, the longing for freedom. The rain outside intensified, pounding against the glass as we lost ourselves in each other's arms. His hands found my waist, pulling me closer as if I could anchor him from drifting away, while I arched into him, urging his lips deeper against mine. I responded in fervid urgency, a dance of promises yet to be spoken. "Shawnna," he murmured, breaking the kiss only to seek my lips again, the rhythm of the developing storm playing out like a score, guiding our fervent embrace. "Just kiss me," I whispered against his mouth, desperate for connection, intoxicated by the danger we waded into. In his kiss lay the weight of what we dared to explore and conquer. We stumbled into a wild embrace, devouring the space between us as if it were the most precious gift. His hands slid beneath my shirt, fingertips tracing the curves of my body with a reverence that stoked the flame burning within me. "Stop thinking, just feel," Elijah urged, as his lips trailed down my neck, igniting electric sensations that sent shivers down my spine. Every syllable fired through me like a bolt of electricity, sparking life in every hidden corner of my heart. I knew the stakes, yet here in this moment, in his arms, everything else faded into insignificance. I could no longer distinguish the sound of the rain from the pounding of my heart, or the taste of freedom from his intoxicating kiss. Suddenly, the moment deepened, as if both danger and intimacy wove around us in a single breath. No longer was I a caged bird, but a lioness unleashed. "God, I need you," I gasped, the walls closing in, yet my spirit soaring with newfound ambition. "And I won't hold back what I feel either." His determination echoed in the way he pulled me closer. I surrendered completely, caught in the storm, both the one raging outside and the tumult within us. We navigated our desires in every whisper and gasp, losing ourselves in the push and pull, the glorious tug-of-war between fear and exhilaration. In every explosive kiss, we were unraveling the complexities that shackle us, all while the world spun maddeningly outside. In this tempestuous chaos, I felt powerful and at last free. The echoes of our desires danced in the air, culminating in a symphony of blissful madness. The thunder outside morphed into a haunting melody of defiance as I tasted the sweet nectar of liberation, ignited by Elijah's lips on my skin, igniting something I had almost forgotten existed. And the storm, with its fierce determination, churned on as we continued to let go of our fears, setting our souls alight in a bond forged in desire and fully transformed by the beauty of surrender. Elijah pulled me closer, the chaotic world outside fading as I surrendered to the wild, reckless abandon of this beautiful, dangerous journey we dared to embark upon together. "Together, no matter what," I whispered between desperate kisses. And from his lips emerged a promise, a vow that felt more solid than any foundation I'd ever known. It would be us. No turning back now. "Is this what you want, Shawnna? Are you really ready to throw it all away for a chance with him?" The words fell from my husband's mouth like stones, heavy and unforgiving. We stood in the sprawling entryway of our home, a magnificent yet stifling cage adored with high ceilings and canvases of mine. Celebrated but cold, a gallery that echoed of ambition and haunting truths. Outside, the air buzzed with the last vestiges of summer, too warm for an impending storm, but I felt the chill creeping in. I clenched my fists at my sides, staring at the polished marble floor. "You don't get to decide what I want," I shot back, my voice firmer than I felt, emotions swirling like the autumn leaves bound to the wind outside. Maybe it's time I found out who I really am, who I am without you. Without me? His laughter was brittle, a facade cracking under pressure. You mean without the life we've built together? The gallery opening next week that's supposed to launch your career? My heart raced, a wild creature looking for escape. Each opening I'd ever envisioned felt like quicksand, waiting to engulf me under the weight of expectation. You know it's not just about the gallery. I lashed out, my frustration spilling over, remembering Elijah's confident eyes and the way he had made me feel seen, really seen, for the first time in forever. I need more than this, Shawnna. I need you. Do you even hear yourself? Panic rose in my throat like bile. I'm not your possession to keep locked away. Before he could respond, the heavy thump of a fist against the door reverberated through the hallway, interrupting our argument with ominous energy. My breath hitched as I turned toward it, adrenaline washing over me. I'd felt the tides of something dark creeping closer, and fear turned my mouth dry. I glanced at my husband. He was suddenly electrified, his expression shifting from anger to alarm. Who could that be? He hissed, moving toward the massive oak doors like a sentinel. I followed behind, heart thrumming like a trapped bird. The tension was palpable, as thick as the bouquet of jasmine and lilacs from the garden. The front door swung open with an impatient creak, revealing Elijah, his presence an electric jolt in the air, raw with danger and intensity. "Shawnna!" His voice was a command, a summons neither of us could ignore. But as I caught a glimpse of his face, tense and collected, I realized he wasn't just here for casual fun. Something was wrong, profoundly wrong. My stomach dropped. "Stay back!" my husband shouted, instinctively moving to block the entryway. Elijah, however, was unfazed. "Get out of the way, Gerald. This isn't about you." There was an edge to his tone, a protective fierceness that I had never encountered before. My heart raced for the thrill of it, even as my mind questioned the precipice on which we all stood. Gerald inhaled sharply, indignation filling the space, but before he could retort, Elijah leaned forward, urgency in his eyes. "Shawnna, we don't have time for this. They know about us." "What?" I breathed, my voice barely a whisper amid the chaos. "Who knows? Someone connected to the syndicate I told you about. They're after me, and by extension, they're after you," he said, the sincerity in his eyes cutting through the tension like a knife slashing through thick fog. "I don't understand," I cried, feeling the room close in around me. "Elijah, what do you mean?" "See," Gerald jumped in, his voice a mixture of incredulity and arrogance. "This is the kind of life you want?" Elijah shot a scathing glare at him, before turning back to me, shoulders taut as if he was bracing for an explosion. "I'm saying I need you with me, Shawnna, but it's going to be dangerous." "Dangerous?" My heart pounded harder, each beat a loud echo in the silence that followed. "What are you proposing?" "It's simple. We need to leave this house immediately. They might be watching, waiting for the perfect moment," Elijah pressed, urgency layering his words like an impending storm looming overhead. "Absolutely not," Gerald barked, his stance unyielding at the doorway. "You're not dragging my wife into your mess. She's not just your wife. She's her own person," Elijah snapped back, holding my gaze. "Shawnna, what do you want?" The sharpness of that question delivered clarity amidst the fray. I took a deep breath, feeling the heaviness of my past decisions. "I want to break free from this prison." I didn't flinch, demanding my own truth back. "I want to chase the thrill I've been missing, to reclaim my choices." With that proclamation, the tension fractured into a chorus of competing aspirations and desires. I turned to Gerald. "I need to choose my life." Suddenly, Elijah stepped closer, blocking Gerald's furious glare as if shielding me. "We need to move." His authoritative presence enveloped me, a call to arms both thrilling and terrifying. In that moment, an unexpected vulnerability splintered within me. I realized I was scared, not of the imminent danger, but of what could happen if I chose Elijah. "You're sure about this?" I asked softly, searching Elijah's deep-set eyes for reassurance. I've never been more sure of anything in my life, he replied, his voice steady like the promise of dawn breaking against a darkened horizon. As the dispute raged around us, the house filled with frantic energy. But within that swirl, a possibility emerged, an invitation to embrace the unknown together. Choices could be made, risks taken, and my life reshaped under the weight of love rather than expectation. Shawnna, Gerald's voice broke through my thoughts, icy with betrayal. If you walk out that door, you're walking away from every promise we made. Every promise except the one I made to myself, I shot back, heart hammering. And that's the one I intend to keep. With that, I stepped forward, following Elijah as he appeared ready to face whatever storm lurked beyond the door. In that moment, I glimpsed the reality of freedom. I could feel it like the rush of cold air from outside, a force of nature, pulling at the seams of my life. Let's go, Elijah urged, extending a hand toward me. I hesitated only a heartbeat, the remnants of uncertainty strangling hope before I grasped it. His touch ignited a spark in me, igniting a wild defiance, an adventure too promising to deny. In one swift motion, I broke away from the chains of obligation, a cacophony of emotions fueling my flight into the unknown. Suddenly, my phone buzzed in my pocket, a pulse of life amidst the storm. I glanced at it, a text from an unknown number flashing ominously. "We know where you are. Don't make this harder than it needs to be." My breath hitched as Elijah's back stiffened beside me, sensing the shift in my demeanor, the danger lurking just out of reach. "What is it?" His voice was low, almost intimate, both a query and a warning. "They found me," I whispered, fear mingling with the thrill of our escape, the stakes rising higher than I had ever imagined. "We're getting through this," Elijah said, resolutely. "Together." The energy in the room shifted as our hands clasped, two defiant souls entwined, ready to charge forward into whatever chaos awaited us. But just as we moved to step over the threshold, Gerald's voice sliced through the air. "You can't run from this. You'll regret it." "Regret is a cage," I shouted back, surprised by the fervor of my response. "And I'm done living in one." With that burning sentiment, we left the confines of the house. Out into the night, I knew that freedom would have its price, but love, when all was said and done, was worth whatever it demanded. "What is our plan?" I asked, my heart racing as we stepped outside. "To chase shadows until we find the truth," Elijah replied, urgency threading through his words. And with every step into the night, the thrill of danger mingled intoxicatingly with the promise of freedom. Elijah and I were chasing something far more significant than the mere thrill of escape. We were chasing our futures, weaving the tangible thread of love into the fabric of a life reborn. Whatever came next, I knew my path would be mine to claim. Together we plunged into the darkened streets, ready to paint our own destiny with the wildest strokes of passion and madness. The chase had just begun. Chapter 42, Plans of Escape. The world outside my apartment whirled in a tempest, autumn leaves tumbling along the slick sidewalks as rain pelted the windows like a relentless drumming. The air smelled of damp earth and impending change, an unsettled energy that mirrored the spirals of uncertainty roiling within me. I stood by the window, fingers pressed against the cool glass, watching a solitary figure moving through the downpour, cloaked in dark colors that blended seamlessly with the storm. That figure was Elijah. My heart raced, not merely from the sight of him, but from knowing what we confronted. He had asked me to meet here, in this sacred safe space that was increasingly beginning to feel more like a prison than a refuge. With a sudden clang, the door swung open, and the warm, musky scent of him enveloped me, pushing back the chill of the storm. "Shawnna," he breathed out, and his voice cut through the air like a knife, rich and laden with urgency. "Are you soaked?" I quipped, attempting to mask my rising anxiety with humor, though the tremor in my voice betrayed me. He rolled his eyes, a trait that softened the tautness of his features. "Don't worry about me. It's rain, not acid." He leaned against the doorframe, striking a confident pose. We have bigger issues to cover. I studied him, damp curls sticking to the side of his face, raindrops glistening on his skin like tiny diamonds. So many issues. Where do we even start? First, he said, pushing himself away from the door with a snap of energy, we figure out how to flip this setup on its head. Your husband's still in the dark about us, and I intend to keep it that way until we have a plan. The fiery determination radiating from him was intoxicating, drawing me closer against my better judgment. Easier said than done, I replied, folding my arms, grounding myself against the wave of uncertainty. Elijah, a voice interrupted from behind me, sharp and unnecessary like a knife scraping a plate. I turned to see my friend Lila storming into the room, bright as lightning and equally unpredictable. She had the kind of charisma that could fill a room with light, yet with her vibrant energy came chaos. With an exaggerated sigh, Elijah said, "You know this is a private conversation, right?" "Nothing is private when you're trying to escape your life, darling. I'm here to help." Lila swooped in, dismissively shaking her umbrella and sending droplets scuttling across the hardwood floor. "Now tell me, what's the situation?" I exchanged a glance with Elijah. It was a mix of amusement and irritation. "We're devising a plan," I said, trying to sound authoritative. "Quite the thrilling plotline. What is it? Scuba diving? Skydiving? Maybe a three-legged race?" she quipped, her eyes dancing with mischief. I couldn't help but laugh. Relief spilled through my veins. "I mean, your husband may actually kick you out after he finds out you spontaneously decided to join the circus." "It's not that simple," Elijah said, voice dipping into seriousness that quieted Lila. "There are stakes involved." He stepped closer, intensity crackling between us, and I felt a shiver flood my skin. "Are you ready to risk it all?" Lila asked, her gaze shifting back and forth between us, assessing. "Because you know it's not just a stroll into the sunset, once we make a plan." I nodded, swallowing hard against the fear that was curling tight in my chest. "I'm done pretending," I said, fighting clarity in those words. "I need to reclaim my life." "Then let's take inventory," Lila said, her tone shifting to a practical air. "First, we need cash. How much do you currently have hidden in the depths of the penthouse?" "Not much. A couple of thousand in savings," I said. "Not enough. Once your husband starts asking questions." "I'm not going to wait for questions to be asked," Elijah interrupted, fire sparking in his eyes. "I've got connections, people who owe me favors, and I'll need you both out of sight until I secure everything." "Will they be able to break through the kind of protection your husband has?" Lila's stare challenged him, and I could see the contours of concern etched on her forehead. "Elijah has a history," I said, stepping into the conversation, pushing back the "where did this come from" uncertainty. "He knows how to move in those circles." I felt a flash of jealousy at the thought of his circles, at intertwining deals and undisclosed secrets, both exhilarating and terrifying, as I left the words hanging in the air. "Yes," Elijah said, matching my intensity. "And if things go right, this will be out of his grasp soon enough." His fingers brushed mine in an electric moment, and heat flickered up my arm. I pulled away, aware of how proximity lit the fire between us. "So, we'll break this down," Leela said, her voice snapping me back to the task. "Next, transport. You can't exactly commandeer a jet at the last minute without leaving a trail. You think your husband will let you hop on a plane without wanting a full itinerary?" "Easier than you think," Elijah said, a half-smile teasing his lips. "There's always a way out." "And once we're skimming the surface of freedom, how long do you think you'll remain free?" Leela countered. "Those people will know you're gone." I felt a knot twist in my stomach. "So we lay low? Travel incognito?" "Not just low, invisible." Another euphoric wave of daring washed over me, imagining a world where I lived unconfined, each breath full of autonomy. "Okay, let's say we get through this. What then?" "Then you focus on breaking free from everything," Elijah said, his eyes meeting mine, his voice intense and compelling. "Everything that holds you back, your fears, the expectations. But is this really what you want?" "More than anything," I answered, my heart open and raw. Then let's get moving, he said, the corner of his mouth curling in determination. We'll need a solid cover story, Leela said, rolling her shoulders back, quickening into action as if I hadn't just revealed my deepest desire. A diversion for your husband, perhaps even for your friends once word gets out. I can swindle them, fix a dinner party. Make up some story about an art gala. Art gala? Elijah scoffed, though a slight grin lingered. Sounds like someone's craving sophistication. I forgot you had checkered history with the high-end art world, Leela smirked, nudging him with her shoulder. Let me guess, versatile in bed, versatile in other aspects of life? He chuckled, but I sensed something unspoken hanging in his laughter. A fragility wrapped within a strength that I knew all too well. I need to know you're in this together, Elijah said, pulling my focus back. Not just as an escape plan, but as something to survive and build anew. Then we are. I reached for his hand, feeling the warmth seep into me, igniting my resolve. I won't hide anymore. The tension between us coalesced into a longing, and Lila's laughter faded into the distance as we floated in our connection, charged with possibility. But first, Elijah led me toward the center of the room, the rain pouring louder around us as if it demanded to be heard. Shawnna, he whispered, drawing near, I need you to know how deeply you're valued to me. None of this matters without you. And I am worth fighting for, I replied, leaning forward as the air between us thickened with yearning, our past and futures crashing together like waves against the shore. And then a sudden instinct pulled me closer, enveloping me in the warmth of his embrace, igniting a wildfire of passion that sparked between us. The world outside faded to nothingness as our lips collided, furious and desperate, the storm brewing with the weight of our surrender. As the kiss deepened and entwined, our surroundings melted away. Each breath was electric, every moment a promise, stitching together the cracks of our lives into something more than mere survival. We hesitated for only a heartbeat, moments spinning out like shimmering threads of fate, before I felt a hand at the back of my neck. Elijah's fingers tangled in my hair as he drew me toward him, urgency creeping into the rhythm of our kiss, the desperate need swirling around us, igniting the air. He made me feel alive. I murmured against his lips, my heart beating frantically as vulnerability slipped through the barriers of control. What if we get caught? I won't let that happen, Shawnna. His words were steady, wrapped in their own undeniable truth. This is just the beginning. Then what are we waiting for? I pulled him closer, the passion bendable and wild, weaving our lives into something undeniably fierce. Outside, the rain continued to pour, an orchestra of fate punctuating the secrets we held tightly in our hands. But inside, in the heated moment between us, we laughed against a storm, two souls determined to carve our own path. Chapter 43, Secrets and Lies. Are you really ready to face those ghosts from your past? Elijah's voice cut through the mid-morning hush like the sharp click of a lighter sparking to life. I looked up, his dark eyes full of mischief and misgiving, a captivating mix that ignited something deep within me. The scent of freshly brewed coffee floated through the air, mingling with the sharp tang of citrus from the half-squeezed lemon perched on the counter. Ghosts? I echoed, stirring my cup absent-mindedly. They're more like loudmouths. I'll deal with them today, but you know it's not exactly my list of top 10 favorite things to do. He leaned back in his chair, arms crossed, muscles taut against his fitted shirt, the kind of shirt that emphasized the graceful curvature of his shoulders and how deceptively powerful he really was. You can do this, Shawnna. Just remember, they might be loud, but they can't actually touch you. I glanced toward the window, sunlight streaming in through the sheer curtains, painting the room in golden hues. A soft breeze rustled the leaves outside, whispering secrets of its own. And what about you? You seem to have ghosts of your own, I said, my voice softer than I intended. I didn't want our morning, steeped in laughter and the easy pulse of companionship, to unravel into anything heavy. But the vulnerability hung in the space between us like an electric charge. He shifted, the warmth of his presence abruptly transformed into an unsettling heat, like being caught in a sunbeam, too intense to bear. We all have our pasts, Shawnna, but I'm sure yours aren't nearly as messy as what I'm dealing with. The bravado in his tone contrasted with the shadow that flickered in his eyes. Perhaps it was a fleeting moment of honesty, but it tugged at something within me, revealing the gravity of our shared experience. Tell me, I urged gently, what kind of mess are we talking about? He cleared his throat, pulling his gaze away, focusing instead on the small collection of art books on the nearby shelf. Each spine lived 100 lifetimes, rich with stories I longed to hear, and even more so, to share. Honestly, the kind that doesn't let you breathe, he said, his voice tentative, a hint of the boy I knew hiding behind the confident man. I'm not afraid of confrontation, but losing feels worse. Losing? The word hung in the air, heavy with implications I'd been wrestling with ever since we crossed that fateful line into something more. I reached across the table, placing my hand over his, my palm warm against his cool skin. We're not in this alone. Remember that. He didn't meet my gaze but flipped his hand so our palms pressed together. It sparked a connection, one I couldn't quite ignore. You make it sound easy. Nothing about this is easy. But if you're willing to share your struggles, maybe we can work through them together. The challenge hung between us, charged and alive, each heartbeat echoing the trust I dared dream we were building. Before he could respond, the door burst open. You two, what are you doing hiding in here? It was my friend Tamara, her light-hearted spirit like a firecracker, instantly illuminating the somber atmosphere. A pity party? I hope it's void of meltdowns and drama. Elijah and I exchanged a glance, the unspoken tension instantly shattered. I let out a playful, exaggerated sigh. You caught us plotting our escape from our glamorous lives. Tamara laughed, her melodic voice infectious. Well, I hope a life of couch-sitting isn't your endgame. You've got dreams worth chasing, Shawnna. And Elijah, don't you think you should do something really crazy now that you've made it to adulthood? Crazy? Elijah raised an eyebrow, clearly intrigued. What did you have in mind? Just a little excursion, she replied, eyes twinkling. Gatsby style. Rendezvous under the stars? I hear there's a wild art show tonight at that loft downtown. Elijah leaned forward, his curiosity piqued. Sounds like more than just crazy. That sounds thrilling. Are you game? I hesitated, the prospect of an evening away from my burdens, a siren song calling me forth. Yet the shadow of my other life loomed at the edges of my excitement. I don't know, Tamara. Maybe tonight is not the right night. Don't be a spoilsport, she shot back, flicking her hair over her shoulder. You need this. We all do. Plus, it'll be fun to let loose a little. We can pretend to be reckless. Elijah's gaze locked onto mine, a silent question. What do you think? It could be a chance to break free, even just for a night. A weight rested heavily in my chest, a yearning clashing against the surface of my heart. My world felt like a carefully arranged gallery, beautiful and functional, but oh so confining. Okay, let's do it, I finally said. I was tired of being tethered to a reality that didn't fit anymore. Yes, Tamara clapped her hands, the sound igniting a spark between us. I'll grab some outfits, and Elijah can, figure out his mystery man vibe. Elijah chuckled. Mystery man, huh? Don't I pull it off effortlessly? Endlessly, even. Just don't wear that ridiculous hat I saw you in last week. I'm afraid we'd scare away any potential suitors. Hey now, that hat was bold, and I stick to that, he retorted, but the smirk tugging at his lips belied the mock seriousness of his tone. And I think prowling on the dance floor while wearing it could be my next big move. Tamara rolled her eyes playfully. Focus. Clothes are key to success here. But before she could turn on her heel, she hesitated, looking between us. You two, you have something brewing, don't you? Elijah shifted with newfound energy, eyes glinting mischievously. We're in deep, that's for sure. Deep, Tamara exclaimed. That's my girl. As long as it's nothing but sunbeams and moonlight, I approve. The excitement was infectious. tension momentarily dissipating like morning fog gave way to sunshine. Yet, just when laughter painted a lighthearted vibe, a deeper current, my secret, Elijah's shadow, threatened to surface. Later that evening, as we round the corner toward the gallery, the air buzzed with a riot of colors and sharp sounds. Music pulsed from the entrance, laughter ricocheted down the sidewalk. The city felt alive, bursting with electric energy and possibility. I turned to Elijah, the brilliant, brimming man next to me, in a sleek black shirt, with just enough sleeve for conversation, but not a moment more. "Doesn't it feel good to escape?" I said, excitement spilling from my words like champagne from a shaken bottle. "Tell me about it. Not that I'm used to artworks this alive." His gaze wandered over murals sprawling across the walls, bright in their defiance of social norms, their vivid narratives capturing the chaotic beauty of human expression. The people swirled around us, bright smiles and bold outfits, exuberance mingling with the stench of warm pretzels from the nearby food cart. I turned to grab Elijah's arm, and he pulled me in close, our bodies brushing together while dropping my guard. "Stay close, will you? We'll get lost in the night. Only if you promise to keep me safe from your underground connections." I shot him a teasing smile, but sensing hesitation ghosting behind that charming bravado of his. "I wouldn't dream of it," he said, but his voice trembled slightly as his head pivoted toward a figure weaving through the crowd. My pulse quickened in response as I realized how familiar their face seemed. "Shawnna, is that you?" I turned around to confront an unwelcome surprise, Kendall, my husband's associate, loosening the knot of tension in my gut. "What are you doing here? I could ask you the same." He smirked, his eyes scanning our linked arms. "Is this your new plaything?" Elijah's protective energy flared beside me, a shift palpable in the air as he stood slightly in front. "And is that any of your business?" "Just looking out for my girl, that's all." Kendall's smug tone grated against my ears like nails on a chalkboard. "Oh, is that how it is?" I cut in, determination brewing beneath my tongue. "You're suddenly the concerned friend? Newsflash, Kendall, I'm not your property." That's a bold statement coming from a woman married to a man like Marcus. Elijah's grip tightened, radiating an intensity that sent shivers up my spine, an unspoken vow that he would protect me from the toxicity that radiated off Kendall. "Let's take a walk, Shawnna." Without waiting for my response, Elijah led me back deeper into the venue, the thrumming beat pulsing like a heart gone wild, the smell of paint and perfumes mixing in the air. I could still hear Kendall's increasingly muted guffaws behind us, the laughter and raucous voices washing away beneath the tides of color. Finally, we stumbled into a quieter room, the light softening around us as artwork hummed on the walls. I almost sighed at the stillness, a moment's reprieve from the chaos. But Elijah swung around to face me, heated determination simmering in his gaze. What did he mean? He questioned, the earlier levity gone, replaced by a fierce tenacity. "Your marriage, Shawnna, is it?" The cord between us trembled, frayed by the shadows of my life. "It's complicated," I admitted, my voice breaking under the weight of truth. "It shouldn't be," he said, stepping closer, invading the space around me with urgency. "You deserve more than shadows, than ignoring your worth. Just tell me what you feel." Desire crackled between us, spiraling into determination. "I feel trapped, Elijah. Every day suffocated by expectations I never agreed to. I can't claw my way out when all I taste is fear." "Then let's change that." His voice dropped to a low murmur, eyes shimmering as if each word could unearth some sacred promise. "Let me help you free yourself." "And what if I can't?" "Then I'll catch you. Always." His breath was warm against my skin, his arms heavy with promise and purpose. "I want to be more than a fleeting distraction. I want to be yours, if you'll have me." His words brushed against my heart, igniting something inside that was longer suppressed. The rhythm of the music outside heightened, and I could feel the world spinning faster, the promise of tonight daring me to leap. "Don't you see?" I whispered, quaking at the admission. I want all of you, as terrifying as that sounds. I'll take that risk, Shawnna. And before I could respond, he closed the distance, capturing my lips with an urgency that ignited every nerve in my body. The kiss, raw and electric, unleashed everything. Emotions trapped beneath layers of duty surfaced, an unholy blaze consuming us both. I melted against him, fingers tangling in his hair, feeling freedom alive in every heartbeat. As our breaths mingled, the world outside was forgotten, lost in a dance of passion and resolve. Two souls entwined amid secrets and lies. And for a fleeting moment, nestled in the shelter of his embrace, I believed in the beauty of the unknown, in the quest for liberation. Tonight would be ours. Whatever phantom loomed overhead, let it come. Together we would face whatever awaited. Then let's go find out what this night has in store, Elijah murmured against my lips, a spark in his eyes, promising countless adventures ahead. Together, I whispered, heart racing at the reality we were carving anew. Always, he affirmed. Somewhere within this darkness, amidst the chaos of our entwined lives, I found clarity, a new beginning echoing with passionate laughter, love, and the sweet audacity of uncharted dreams. Chapter 44: An Unexpected Rescue. The sky was a bruised purple, clouds gathering like whispered secrets, a heavy weight pressing down on the world. The art gallery stood before me, its glass facade reflecting the ominous twilight and splashing ominous shadows across the otherwise pristine marble floor. My heart raced, the familiar thrum of anxiety twisting with an undeniable spark of anticipation. It was as if the air itself conspired to smother the delicate lightness of evening, leaving only tension in its wake. "Elijah, we shouldn't be here," I whispered, my voice almost lost in the expansive silence of the corridor. The echo of my words hung between us, fragile and straining against the palpable currents of our connection. He leaned against the wall, fingers threaded through his dark curls, his deep-set eyes searching mine. "We need to figure out our next move, Shawnna. There's no hiding from this anymore." His breath brushed against me, warm and edged with urgency, igniting a rush of electricity where our bodies brushed together. I caught the faintest scent of cedarwood and sandalwood on him, a familiar comfort amidst this chaos. Yet the shadows that danced in the corners of the gallery hinted at the danger closing in around us. The exhilarating risk we had taken to meet here felt like a lit fuse, ready to set off a series of uncontrollable explosions. "Why don't you—" I began, but he interrupted me with a silencing look. I noticed his protective instinct flaring to life, a stark reminder of the stakes. This was more than just us. This was a game we couldn't afford to lose. "Look, I know things have gotten complicated," he said, his voice low yet fierce, "but I won't let anyone hurt you." There was a vulnerability in his declaration that cracked through my resolve. Elijah had become my anchor, even as the waters closed in around us. "Promise me you won't do anything reckless," I said, half laughing at the irony. "Like maybe breaking any laws in this gallery?" "Laws are slippery when you're dealing with—" He hesitated, but I could see the weight of his undisclosed burdens shimmering like a dark shadow in his eyes. "Let's just say I have a complicated history with certain art collectors. They're not easy to shake off." I leaned closer, entranced by the urgency radiating from him. "So we're looking for a back door?" I teased, attempting to lighten the frantic gravity of our situation, but the moment was heavy, laden with unspoken fears. Just then, the gallery doors swung open, flooding the space with a fluorescent glow from outside. We jumped apart, my heart leaping into my throat as a familiar figure identified itself within the light. "Surprise!" Aisha called, her voice bursting through the tension like a cannonball into a tranquil lake. She stepped inside, a whirlwind of auburn hair and formidable energy, hands on her hips as she surveyed the scene. "I thought you two could use a rescue." "Rescue?" I blinked, still reeling from the storm of emotions swirling between Elijah and me. "What are you doing here?" "I just happened to be in the neighborhood," she chirped, raising an eyebrow. "You know, saving the day and all that. But seriously, I received a few whispers about some people hunting you down. Figured it was time to intervene. Elijah, you didn't tell her? My voice barely contained my disbelief. He rubbed the back of his neck, the layers of his vulnerability unexpectedly surfacing in a way that exposed him. I didn't want you to worry. Worry? I huffed, raising a skeptical eyebrow. That ship sailed a while ago. Aisha flashed me a knowing grin. I'm here now, and I brought my trusty getaway car. She pulled a momentary frown as she glanced around the gallery, then zeroed in on Elijah. So, what's the plan, you rebellious prince? Are we finally going to throw the rules out the window? I won't let them take what they love to use against me, Elijah replied firmly, his eyes hardening with resolve. But we have to move, fast. Before I could respond, expecting a deluge of cascading arguments and indecisiveness, Aisha beckoned us toward the rear exit, her laughter dancing down the corridor ahead of us. Come on, we have miles to cover, and far too many secrets yet to unfold. As we dashed through the gallery's labyrinthine hallways, my heart beat wildly, the allure of danger looming ever closer. Each of us was piecing together the truth as we raced. Aisha was already revealing layers of her expansive networks, while Elijah navigated instinctively into shadows that felt far too familiar. I've got connections in the city, Aisha declared, voice rising over the quickening pace. Safe houses, hiding spots, the works. You two are so not getting away from this without my help. Control freak, Elijah teased, puffing out a breath of laughter that echoed my own tensions. Didn't we agree to not dive headfirst into the craziness? Yes, but you managed to grab the first piece of trouble that rolled into town. Aisha tossed a knowing glance to me in turn. And let's be real here. Trouble is practically what you're wearing. I shot Elijah a cheeky head tilt, making sure he could see me relish the teasing. Exactly. At least we look good running from the danger. Keep it up, Elijah grinned, tension easing momentarily between us, until his brow knitted deeply again. That danger isn't going to stop just because you two are feigning normalcy. My heart fluttered in my chest. Maybe it was the adrenaline, or maybe it was Elijah's presence, but I felt invincible in a way that swelled deeply within me. Let's go, I declared, clutching at excitement, for a little more trouble, if it's just a fleeting escape. I'm in. As we slipped into the alleyway behind the gallery, a chill crept through the evening air, my skin prickling with the wisp of danger. The streets were alive with distant music, and the scent of exhaust mixed with the remnants of an earlier rain. Over here, Aisha urged, leading us toward an inconspicuous black SUV that seemed to blend with the darkness around it. Get in, we have to make this quick. The three of us ducked into the back seat just as we heard voices approaching from the gallery entrance. My pulse raced as Aisha revved the engine, the sound reverberating through my chest, drowning out my panic. Elijah pressed into me, wrapping his arms protectively around my shoulders, his warm body grounding me against the tide of impending chaos. This isn't over, I muttered under my breath, my entire being surging with a mix of exhilaration and trepidation. Elijah's face was close to mine, his warmth mingling with my racing heart. Whatever happens, I wasn't going to let them hurt you, he murmured, his voice low, eyes alive with lingering shadows of promise and courage. The SUV surged forward, merging into the night, headlights slicing through the darkness. Aisha's laughter erupted around us, a sharp, stunning sound that cut through our moment. Welcome to the adventure, lovebirds. Believe me, the night is still young. Elijah's grip tightened around me, the heat radiating off his skin, intoxicatingly assuring. As Aisha maneuvered through the streets, my gaze shifted toward Elijah, the tension between us palpable, charged with something we had yet to explore fully. I've got your back, he said softly, the promise layered between us, anchoring and invigorating. I hope so, I replied, laughter spilling out, a vibrant flicker amidst the pressing shadows. Because what kind of chaos am I diving into with you? He leaned closer, our eyes impossibly locked, the heat simmering anew between us. The kind where we refuse to let the world dictate our destiny. With every flicker of hope and every breath of uncertainty, I realized that this darkness, this thrilling escape, would redefine us both. Little did I know, it was only the beginning. As Aisha sped through the city, surrendering to freedom felt like both a raucous desire and a welcome secret. I thrilled at the notion that love could mend what felt torn apart. What lay in wait was unknown, but with them by my side, I was ready for anything. Chapter 45. Into the Abyss. The hum of the city echoed beneath me, a bustling undercurrent that felt worlds away from the opulence of the gallery where the evening had begun. I stood on the balcony of Elijah's penthouse, the cool silver mist of the night air swirling around me, a fresh contrast to the stifling warmth of the party below. Monochrome lights dotted the skyline, the excitement of the night clashing with an unsettling heaviness in my chest. Was it the remnants of the champagne, or the persistent whisper of impending doom? Shawnna, Elijah's voice broke through my reverie, smooth as the whiskey he favored. I turned to find him leaning against the doorway, arms folded casually, his strong build silhouetted by the soft glow behind him. Those hazel eyes held a complexity I couldn't unravel. There was something raw and real about this moment that felt out of sync with the charade of elegance presented at the gala. "Do you ever wonder how we got here?" I asked, my voice barely above the noise of the city below, tinged with confusion and curiosity. Elijah stepped forward, closing the distance between us, his presence a magnetic force. "You mean standing on the precipice of chaos, drinking overpriced wine with an audience of phonies?" He smirked, a playful glint sparking in his eyes, but there was an edge to his tone that revealed the gravity of our situation. "And feeling like we're one awkward conversation away from a disaster," I added, my heart racing. The gravity of the blackmail threat loomed like a thunderclap over us, the knowledge that we were being hunted nearly suffocating. "Would you tell me if you thought we were in trouble?" His question was layered with meaning, probing yet as casual as a summer breeze. "Depends on the trouble," I countered, teasing the line between bravado and vulnerability. "Are we talking bad reviews for the art exhibit, or actual life-threatening danger?" His gaze sharpened, the mood shifting. "If you haven't noticed the glaring shadows trailing us, you should know I'm not talking about art." I glanced down into the city, where darkened figures slipped into alleys, and my pulse quickened. Then we're in deep trouble. The tension crackled between us like static electricity, a dangerous game of unspoken truths draping itself over our conversation. There was a moment, fragile and unassuming, where I saw him for what he was, a man burdened by unshared secrets, loyalty painted in shades of gray. Then, as if the universe conspired to distract us from our impending fate, my phone buzzed violently in my pocket. "Your husband?" Elijah deduced, his brow corking up, masking tension with humor. I groaned softly. "Yeah, Trent wondering where I disappeared to. You know it's always a joy to feel married when I can't tell if my own life is a circus act." "Do tell him you're rescuing a damsel in distress," he suggested, sarcasm dripping from his words. "More like a damsel pretending she's out for a glamorous evening while hanging on the edge of a cliff." I pressed my freshly manicured fingers against my temple. Elijah moved closer, his warmth radiating like a welcome fire in the cold. "Then let's not hang on the edge any longer." He took my hand, leading me back into the penthouse, the world beyond the balcony fading until it vanished behind the heavy curtains. I could feel the mounting excitement, a heady thrill that eclipsed my worries, perhaps for just a moment. "What are we doing, Elijah? We can't stay here, and we can't run forever." "Tonight is for us," he promised, his voice a sultry whisper, casting a spell. "Let's find some peace before everything catches up to us." The lights were dimmed low, the atmosphere thick with unfiltered desire, and I could hardly keep my heart from thundering as he approached, circling me like a predator. His hands found their place at my waist, solid and intimate, as he pulled me closer. "Tell me to stop and I will," he murmured, his breath warm against my skin. I felt the sincerity in his words, the unyielding way he always respected my boundaries. "Don't stop," I breathed out shakily, emboldened by the uncertainty of our reality. In that fleeting moment, everything else faded. The blackmail, the looming threat of Trent's call, the unease of my perfect life. He captured my lips with his, electric and demanding yet tender, each kiss igniting a bonfire in my veins. Our hands wove in a dance of exploration, a silent language speaking of longing and urgency. Gently pulling away, our foreheads pressed together, I caught my breath, the coolness of his skin alarming against the heat of our connection. "This is reckless," I said, feebly attempting to anchor us both in sanity. But the truth was my body was betraying me with every pulse. I wanted this, wanted him, more than I'd ever thought possible. "I like reckless," Elijah replied, a daring smile breaking across his face that illuminated his striking features. "And I think you do too." Before I could protest, he swept me into his arms, our laughter spilling over the gravity of our situation. The absurdity filled the room, intermingling with desire, and we relinquished ourselves to the chaos we created, a sanctuary where reality couldn't shatter our illusion.
But it wasn't enough.
Just not enough to shake off the lurking shadows. "The guests," I said, my mind flashing back to the party below, the polished voices, the clinking glasses. I was torn between visceral pleasure and the underlying dread that threatened to steal it all away. "They won't notice," he insisted, his lips trailing soft, lingering kisses down my neck. He pulled me against him, our bodies practically melding, a perfect contradiction of desire and fear. "Let's not tumble into a scandal tonight," I chided playfully, but the reality was that we had already become a scandal, a beautiful disaster about to unfold into the night. Elijah tilted my chin, so our eyes locked, a fabric of tension weaving tightly between us. Scandals are just stories waiting to be told. We're weaving ours, right here, right now. A heated thrill ran down my spine as he leaned in again, our lips dancing together as I lost myself in the impromptu fervor, forgetting all of it. The rhythm of his kisses was a mesmerizing melody, an intoxicating invitation to dive deeper, to plummet into our abyss together. "Elijah," I gasped as he edged my dress higher, fingers on fire, brushing against silky skin uncharted in his touch. The air buzzed around us, electric and precarious. "I want you," he murmured, an urgent plea that hung in the air. Now, and just like that, I gave in, surrendering to the heat coursing through me. His hands guided me like a painter to canvas, each stroke igniting every nerve ending until we were both lost in a frenzied dance of need. Laughter mingled with gasps as we tumbled onto the plush rug, the world taking on an ethereal quality. I pulled at his shirt, feeling the tautness of his muscles beneath the soft fabric. "This is madness, and I love it," I said, the words tumbling out as I took possession of his lips once again. "Madness is often misunderstood," he quipped, guiding my hands to his waist. "Besides, we're only as mad as the night allows. So tell me, are you ready?" More than you know, I gripped him tighter as we entwined, igniting a firestorm fueled by urgency, passion erasing the distance of our fears. I craved this, craved him, the only person who made me feel unfettered, despite being shackled to my responsibilities. But as we sunk into each other, I couldn't shake the shadow lurking at the edges of our bliss, the knowledge that we danced on the brink of catastrophe. But for now, as the night enveloped us and desire held sway, I was determined to relish every moment. The abyss could wait. Tonight we were free. "Scandals can wait," I whispered, my breathless laughter mingling with Elijah's as we pulled each other closer, lost in our reckless desire, the world beyond, forgotten in our fervor. Chapter 46, Bonds Under Pressure. The sound of ice clinking in a glass accompanied the smell of aged bourbon, rich and deeply aromatic, swirling through the air as I leaned against the bar, my fingers barely grazing the polished wood. Beneath the low hum of conversation, there was a rhythm in my chest that mimicked the pace of my forever beating heart. a heart that wanted freedom, yet felt ensnared by the expectations tethered to my perfect life. Do you ever feel like there's a fire inside you just waiting for a match? Elijah's words hung thick in the air between us. I turned, gazing into his deep-set eyes, which sparkled like midnight stars that had known too many secrets. The intensity of that gaze made the surrounding crowd fade, leaving just him and me, cloaked in vulnerability. Every single day, I confessed, my voice a whisper edged with longing. But if I let it out, then what? I found myself leaning closer, drawn in by the magnetic pull of his presence. Elijah reached for my hand, his touch igniting a current that shot up my arm. "We'll find out together," he said, his voice low and rich, like the bourbon we were both pretending not to drink. Just as I was about to respond, a raucous laugh erupted from the back of the room. It was Tyler, our mutual friend, always the life of the party, his laughter infectious, easy. "Shawnna, Elijah, get over here," he beckoned, and like moths to a flame, we were caught in the glow. "Looks like we're on," Elijah smirked, squeezing my hand briefly before letting go, breaking the spell. I followed him across the room, my heart still racing as I turned the corner to the lively crowd. But in the depths of my mind, the fire remained, flickering with confusion, venturing into realms uncharted by my carefully curated life. "All right, everyone. Bet you can't guess what I found at the flea market this week," Tyler exclaimed, juggling an absurd assortment of colorful masks. Their feathers fluttered and glimmered with every gesture, disrupting the seriousness of the moment. This beauty here, he held up a gaudy, oversized mask, was worn by a real-life vaudeville star. A round of gasps and laughter greeted him, punctuated by Melissa, his fiery girlfriend, who added, "Or is it a Halloween prop? I'll take 10. I chuckled, the joy of their playful banter washing over me, and I felt the weight lift momentarily. But between the bursts of laughter, I glimpsed Elijah's expression, his boyish charm slipping into something deeper, troubled. "Hey, don't leave me hanging," Tyler nudged. "You two got any wild news? I mean, besides trading poetry with strangers." "Taking a chance," I replied. "Nothing wild, just a little bit of inspiration for a new exhibit I'm working on. You know how it goes. Great art, great risk." Elijah chuckled, his tension momentarily eased. "What she means is she has an insane collection of dangerous ideas brewing." "Dangerous?" Tyler leaned in closer, eyes glinting with curiosity. "Shawnna, you in trouble again? You mean like that time you tried to curate outside the box and made us sit through that performance piece? I still feel haunted by those interpretive dancers." "Hey," I laughed, throwing a playful shove at him. "That was art in motion. Thank you very much." And a bit on the wild side, if you ask me. Suddenly, the lightness of the room dampened when Ian, my husband, wove through the crowd with a polished air that felt far too rehearsed. My stomach dropped at the sight of him. I hadn't shared my world of secrets with Elijah yet, and Ian was an unwelcome reminder of the cage I felt I was in. "If it isn't the charming trio," Ian said, voice smooth but laced with an edge. The atmosphere turned, and I could almost feel Elijah stiffen beside me. "What riveting discussion are we missing? Art, or perhaps drama?" "Just some memories," Tyler sprung in. "You know, sharing the craziest things that happen in typical Shawnna style." I shot a glance at Elijah, whose expression danced between amusement and discomfort. "Right," Ian said, his tone shifting into a steely chill. "Nothing that would require my attention, I hope." "Not unless you're interested in attending my next exhibit. Unless, of course, your calendar is too full," I countered, trying to keep my voice steady, aware of Elijah's presence beside me, a silent bastion. "It's always full when there are genuine responsibilities," Ian remarked, with a slight curl of his lips. "But not to worry, sweetheart. I'm sure you'll be absolutely fine managing things on your own." Elijah shifted, stepping slightly ahead of me. "What's that supposed to mean?" He held Ian's gaze, an ember of defiance slipping between his words. "Nothing that concerns you, Elijah." Ian dismissed him with an effortless wave of his hand. But you should be careful who you associate with. Some people have a habit of complicating lives. Some people, I interjected, but Elijah interrupted. Or perhaps some people just love too fiercely. But I guess that's a risk you won't understand, is it? Tyler's genuine laughter was an awkward interjection, but I felt the undercurrent of unresolved tension electric and fierce. The moments stretched, tightening like a noose around my heart, and I had to find a way to break free. "I'll be seeing you later," Ian suggested coolly, eyes pinned directly on me as he walked away, leaving behind a palpable chill. Once Ian merged back into the crowd, Tyler leaned in closer, erupting with playful banter again, but I could only focus on Elijah. "What was that about?" I whispered sharply, eyes darting away from Tyler's antics. "Protective husband syndrome?" Elijah leaned against the bar, crossing his arms. Each muscle of his frame seemed to twitch with suppressed energy. "I just don't want you to feel suffocated. He doesn't see you." "Neither does he have to," I said sharply. "You don't know the half of it, Eli." "You were about to tell me what that fire burning in you means," he replied. "I'm here, Shawnna." I rubbed my temples, the weight of every moment resting on my shoulders. "This isn't just about us dancing with fire. It's a lot more complicated than you realize. Relationships don't always fulfill the promise we intend them to." "I know," he said softly, a genuine vulnerability flickering in his eyes. "But I can't help but see your potential igniting every time I'm close." A spark ignited in my chest, an empowering rush flowing unfiltered between us. What if I wanted to embrace that potential? What if I wanted to dive into that fire? His breath caught, the air crackling like static. "What's stopping you?" "What if I get burned?" "What if you burn everyone else instead? What if you fly?" Elijah stepped closer, those midnight eyes pulling me in. I could feel everything we had shared, those dark corners filled with unspoken fears and passionate glances. "Come with me," I said abruptly, determination firming my resolve. "I want to feel alive beyond these walls. Will you?" Without answering, he gripped my wrist, leading me away from the merriment, brushing past the thrumming crowd who only saw what was shared, but not the intricacies beneath. Layers of longing and anticipation thickening the air, wrapping around us. The hall stretched ahead, quieter and more intimate. I felt secure under his gaze, intoxicated by promise. "Now, Shawnna," he murmured, eyes sparking with mischief, his fingers dancing against my forearm. "What about those sparks? You certainly look like you wanted to set some off earlier." We reached an alcove, a small haven, away from prying eyes, the soft golden light casting a warm glow around us. I pressed my body gently against the wall, heart racing as he stepped closer, closing the distance until breaths mingled and the world outside faded further. "I never thought I'd be here," I admitted, tracing a finger along the sharp line of his jaw. "But with you, here feels right." "Right," he echoed, watching me with an intensity that can only be fueled by fire and desire. "Show me just how right." And in that moment, the tension snapped. My fingers tangled in his shoulder-length hair, pulling him closer, feeling each heartbeat echo against my chest. Wild and reckless. His lips met mine with urgency, every kiss igniting the very air around us. I tasted the bourbon on his lips, sweet and warm, a flavor that wrapped deliciously around our fervor. Every breath was a sigh, and suddenly the room felt like it was collapsing into nothing but us. I lost myself in the passionate rhythm between us. Every kiss, every touch, was a spark and a roar. It enveloped my mind like wildfire. Consuming doubts. "God, Shawnna," he murmured, his lips trailing from my mouth to my ear. "You set me ablaze. Burn with me," I whispered, lost in the ardor of our connection, body responding to the heat. The world narrowed, every kiss growing deeper as our desires intertwined, pulling and pushing back against promises forgotten. Each brush of his hands against my waist pushed us further into paradise, the sweet thrill of being dangerously close. Yet in those blissful seconds, where nothing mattered more than the collision of our bodies, The weight of my conflicting life loomed ominously, a shadow lurking on the edges of our firestorm, a reminder that the very desire igniting our souls also threatened collusion in a darker dance against the fierce bonds of expectation. As I fell deeper into the whirlwind, caught between reckless abandon and undeniable attachment, I gripped Elijah tighter, anchoring our passion amidst the chaos, determined to ride the flames, whatever this journey would become. And perhaps I was learning. Perhaps I could be brave enough to take the risk. "Let's surrender," he urged quietly, fingers warming my inner thigh, making my body arch toward him. "Let's become unstoppable." Together, I promised, a smirk darting across my lips. No backing down. The fire inside us roared to life as we teetered at the edge of temptation, daring the world beyond to catch up with our passions. A promise entwined, danger parted, and together we would test what it truly meant to burn. Chapter 47: Adrenaline and Affection. The sun hung low over the Manhattan skyline, casting a golden hue across the streets, a stark contrast to the chaos that roiled within me. I could feel the heat of the late afternoon sun on my skin, but it didn't warm my heart. Instead, my pulse raced faster than the traffic below, a crescendo of anxiety that thrummed in my veins. With every step I took, I was acutely aware of the lingering danger, a predatory instinct gnawing at the edges of my mind. "Shawnna!" Elijah's voice sliced through the cacophony of my thoughts, pulling me back into the present. He stood a few paces ahead, an oasis of calm in this frantic day. Even in his designer jacket, his stance radiated a raw energy that sent a shiver down my spine. The street was a hive of noise and movement, but all I could focus on was the depth of his gaze, the way it searched my face for answers. "I can't believe you just pulled a stunt like that," I shot back, irritation bubbling beneath my skin. I could still hear the sharp pop of gunfire echoing in my ears, see the way the assailants had barreled toward us. Elijah stepped closer, his brow furrowed. "What was I supposed to do? Let you handle it alone?" "You were in danger." He leaned in, voice low enough for only me to hear, his breath warm against my ear. "And I won't let that happen again." I scoffed, crossing my arms defiantly, but I could feel the weight of his words pressing against my resolve, igniting the undeniable tension that simmered between us. "You think I can't handle myself? That I need a knight in shining armor every time something goes wrong?" A wry smile flitted across his face, but it was laced with something that twisted my heart. "No, I think you're more than capable, but sometimes even the fiercest warriors need someone to watch their back. As much as you might hate to admit it, you're part of my world now." The sincerity in his voice stung, wrapping around my heart in a way I wasn't prepared for. My stomach churned with the sweet pang of something deeper, something that felt all the more intense in this dangerous moment. I didn't ask to be a part of anything. I met his gaze, fierce and defiant. "I'm just trying to reclaim my life from everything and everyone." "No one's trying to control you, Shawnna." Elijah stepped in closer, the warmth of his body a heady reminder of what I yearned for. "You're free to choose, but don't pretend this isn't all about finding a way to fight back." Suddenly, a figure emerged in the distance. My heart sank. "They're coming back. We need to move." I grabbed his hand, adrenaline surging as we sprinted toward a nearby cafe, frantic steps echoing against the pavement. As we burst inside, the scent of freshly brewed coffee and pastries felt oddly calming, but I had no time to savor it. I ducked behind a shabby wooden table, my heart still racing. Elijah slid into the seat opposite me, pressing his back against the wall, his eyes scanning the entrance. He stared at me, the heat of the moment still thick between us, and I could see a flicker of something in his dark eyes. Fear, maybe, or desire. At that moment, all the layers we had built around ourselves fell away, leaving only the raw truth of our connection. "Do you really think we can outrun them?" I whispered, my voice trembling slightly. "We will, but we have to be smart about it." His presence settled over me, grounding me in the realization that I wasn't entirely alone. Emotion washed over me, a mixture of fear and an unquenchable desire to lose myself in this thrilling chaos. Suddenly, my phone buzzed violently on the table, sending a wave of sharp tension through my chest. I grabbed it, hoping it wasn't more bad news from the past. 2 missed calls from Kyle. Elijah noticed my expression shift, something flickering across his eyes. Who is it? I hesitated, then let out a frustrated breath. My husband. Why isn't he here? The edge in his voice was unmistakable. If something is happening to you, shouldn't he be? It's complicated, Elijah, I snapped back, the words spilling out before I could rein them in. Kyle's wrapped up in his own world, and I'm suffocating in mine. That's why I was out there today, to take control of something, anything. Elijah's expression softened, but only slightly. You don't have to do this alone. Why should I believe you? I challenged, crossing my arms over my chest. Because, he said, leaning across the table, inching closer, the heat radiating from him made my breath quicken. I care about you, Shawnna. But if you keep pushing me away, you'll only drive us further apart. I opened my mouth, ready to retort, but the intensity of his gaze caught me off guard. The facade cracked, revealing a soft longing beneath the bravado. It was a dangerous place to tread, but my heart willed me forward. Do you mean that? Every word. He reached for my hand, intertwining our fingers, a bold, intimate gesture that made the air tense between us. Then, just as quickly, the moment shattered. A loud crash erupted outside, shouts filled the air, and my heart raced. His grip tightened around my hand. We have to leave, now. We darted towards the back exit of the cafe, pushing through the steel door into the cool alley outside. In that moment, the world outside felt alien, an abyss of unknown possibilities. The streetlights glowed dimly, casting slivers of light onto our path as we made our way, hearts pounding. Elijah pulled me into an alcove, the wall cold against my back. Stay quiet, he whispered, his breath brushing against my ear, igniting sparks that danced along my skin. The danger was palpable, yet the intimacy of his presence sent shivers through my body. What do we do now? I trained my eyes onto his, searching for answers in the depths of his expression. Trust me, he murmured, the tension between us dizzying. Just for a moment. Then it happened. The weight of our situation collided with the heat of our desires, and all the barriers we dared to maintain crumbled. In one swift movement, he surged forward, capturing my mouth with his. It was wild, tinged with desperation and passion, a response to the chaos surrounding us. I melted against him, lost in the taste of danger and longing. Every kiss was a promise, a declaration of everything we had yet to confront. Our bodies pressed together, the exhilaration of our escape blending with the intoxicating rush of intimacy. We broke apart for just a moment, our foreheads resting against one another. Elijah? I gasped, catching my breath, grounding myself in his warmth. Shawnna, I need you to know, he began, his voice steady yet tinged with urgency. I'm all in. Whatever happens next, we face it together, right? My heart fluttered as I considered the gravity of his proclamation. Was I brave enough to leap into this unknown? Before I could answer, the sounds of approaching footsteps echoed in the alley. Our moment shattered once more, reminding me of the precarious line we walked between affection and impending danger. Run, Elijah barked, his gaze sharp and protective. Grabbing my hand, he pulled me into the night, a rush of adrenaline surging through my veins. We dashed down the streets, laughing at our fear, weaving through the shadows of the night, a whirlwind of unpredictable emotion. With every pulse of the city around us, my heart danced between longing and exhilaration. I smiled up at him, feeling powerful and alive. You know, if we survive this, we're gonna have one heck of a story. Elijah smirked, a mischievous glint in his eye. Survivors usually do. But deep down, I wanted to believe there was more to our tale than just survival. I wanted the adventure, the thrill, a dream that sparked between adrenaline and affection. We were entangled, and in this chaotic web of secrets and desires, I could feel the chains of my old life cracking as I learned to fly anew. Chapter 48. Power Plays. The sunlight streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows of my gallery, splashing warmth across the polished marble floor, as if it were some grand spotlight illuminating a moment meant for more than mere everyday life. Yet the air was charged with a tension that countered the golden glow, a jarring reminder of what lay ahead. I felt it settle heavily in my chest. Today was not merely another day at the gallery, not even close. Why am I always drawn to danger? I shook my head, trying to dispel the thought, but it glimmered back at me, infuriatingly tangible. My phone buzzed, its persistent vibration dragging me from my musings. I glanced down and saw Elijah's name flash across the screen like a beacon amidst fog. My heart arced towards the receiver, but a waft of apprehension kept my feet tethered to the ground. "Hey," I said as I answered, attempting to keep my voice steady. "Hey, gorgeous." His voice came through rich and smooth, coiling around my senses. "How's it going?" "Just wrapping up a meeting. How's our little art empire?" His tone was playful, teasing. I chuckled, picturing him with that devil-may-care grin. "It's not much of an empire without rulers." "Let me invade," he replied without missing a beat. "But first, can we talk? It's important." My stomach sank, the foreboding echoing within me. "Can it wait? I have some things to deal with." "Not really, Shaw. Meet me at Montrose." I shivered at the urgency in his voice. Montrose, our little haven tucked away from prying eyes. My heart raced. "You're there now? I'm a few minutes away." "Fine, I'll be there in 20. I hung up, considering the myriad of emotions swirling inside me. Anticipation, dread, excitement, vulnerability. How he could unlock my truths with just a few words astounded me. I cast a glance at the gallery's pristine white walls, where potential and endless possibility hung suspended among the curated art. But here I was, crouching beneath the weight of a life I didn't want. With an urgency born from a symphony of fear and longing, I rushed to gather my things, each step drumming louder in my ears, as if to orchestrate the chaos yet to come. Montrose smelled of fresh espresso and toasted pastries, an aromatic blend that wrapped around me like an old, comforting shawl. I spotted Elijah, sitting in the far corner, sunlight illuminating his face, sharp features, deep brown eyes, the relaxed confidence that set my pulse alight. But the tension was palpable. I slid into the seat across from him, an unspoken understanding hanging in the air, a dance of words we both felt but were wary to indulge. "What's going on?" His eyes searched me before he leaned forward, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "They're watching us, Shawnna. I learned something today. It's bad, very bad." A shiver raced down my spine, crackling with heat. "Who?" My voice trembled, vibrating with fear and unease. "The Syndicate," he said, the words heavy in the air. "They know about you, about us. They're using you against me." What does that mean? Panic licked at my insides, but I swallowed it down, forcing clarity. It means they're going to try to manipulate us, to expose what we've built, what we feel. They think they can control me through you. My head spun, heart pounding in sync with the harsh thrum of background music. This is insane. I can't just sit back and let this happen. Shawnna, no, Elijah, you don't get to decide what happens to me. I may not know everything yet, but I refuse to be some pawn in their game. I have more power than you give me credit for. His expression shifted, a mix of admiration and protectiveness swirling. You're right, but it's dangerous. I can't let anything happen to you. Then let me fight with you. I won't be helpless. A flicker of vulnerability crossed his features, grounding me in the moment. You don't understand what's at stake, Shaw. This isn't just about art. This is about survival. My heart swelled with frustration and empathy. Fine, talk to me, but stop treating me like a fragile glass figurine. His gaze softened. Okay, but promise me one thing. What? No reckless decisions. Kind of impossible when you're part of my world now. I couldn't help the wry smile that tugged at my lips. He smiled back, tension easing just briefly. You have a way of making everything sound like a dare. You'll push me to my limits, won't you? I'll push us both. From across the cafe, a loud burst of laughter erupted. A group of friends celebrating their own triumphs. Just then, a waitress approached, her tablet poised, brimming with intent. "What can I get for you two?" "2 espressos," Elijah said, the tension bleeding back into his tone, as if our moment had been siphoned away. "And a pastry to share." I raised an eyebrow. "That's rather bold for a first date. But I suppose I can make an exception." Elijah smirked, penning me into his charming ways. "Date? I thought we were fighting off a criminal syndicate together." "Well, if it isn't romantic, I don't know what is." The waitress raised an eyebrow, unable to hide her amusement, but I felt an odd current pass between Elijah and me. Something deeper. She left us with a sly smile, and the laughter of the nearby table broke the tension once more. "Let's focus," Elijah said, his tone returning serious. "I need your help to take control, to flip the script." "I'm in," I declared, heart pounding with determination. "But what do we need to do?" The cafe blurred around us as we strategized, eye contact maintained, hands brushing, and electric tension simmering beneath each plan we plotted. Every brush of skin ignited a spark. As our voices dipped and climbed, I found myself caught in his magnetic orbit. "I need you to trust me completely," Elijah murmured, leaning closer, the air heavy with urgency. "Promise me you won't run if things get too intense." My breath hitched. "I won't, I swear. And if I lose control, if I push you." I folded my arms on the table, my intensity rising like the layers of the pent-up storm inside our minds. "I'll push back." One last flicker of uncertainty appeared in his eyes before he steadied himself, closing the distance as I turned to him, unable to resist any longer. As our lips met, it felt like a match igniting kindling. I lost myself in the taste of him, warm and inviting, the room fading into oblivion. This was our sanctuary amidst the chaos. He broke the kiss, breathless, his forehead pressed against mine. "Gosh, what are you doing to me?" Taking back control. His gaze glimmered with a mix of fear and exhilaration. "This is crazy." "Good crazy," I breathed in response. "Join me." We exited the cafe, fingers entwined, setting the wheels of power in motion. But life was never that easy. We had barely turned the corner when a black SUV rolled slowly past, an ominous shadow cutting through the rays of sunlight. Elijah halted, twisting his body toward me. "We're being followed." A jolt of panic shot through me. "What do we do?" "Stay close. Don't draw attention to us." His words clawed at my insides, a mixture of fear and protection, but I felt alive in that moment. Let's not let them win. Before I knew it, we were ducking into a narrow alley, pressing against the cool, gritty brick. He leaned in closer, and despite the urgency, my skin tingled where our bodies touched. "No matter what happens, stay by my side," he whispered, each word coded in a sense of finality. "Always," I responded, conviction roiling through me. The SUV crept by, its presence a chilling reminder of what loomed ahead. Deep in my gut, a fire ignited, melding our resolve. It was frightening, exhilarating, ready to face every shadow that threatened to divide us. In that moment, everything made sense. Power did not just come from safety. It rippled out from trust, from shared vulnerabilities and determination. Together, we could conquer the unwieldy realms threatening to tear at our seams. As I looked into Elijah's eyes, we remained tethered by the bond of our shared fire, a flame that would light our way forward through whatever chaos awaited us on this treacherous path ahead. "Let's do this," I said, drawing a breath full of purpose. Together we would forge our destiny, unyielding and fierce in a world of uncertainty. Chapter 49, Fight or Flight. The crisp scent of polished mahogany, the kind that floods the senses with nostalgia and longing, clung to the gallery walls. I stood in front of Van Gogh's Starry Night, every vibrant swirl of blue igniting a fire inside me. The emotions swelled beneath my skin, urging my heart to break free from its cage. My world felt perfectly curated, framed, yet the beauty of it all felt suffocating. Each brushstroke felt like a metaphor for my own entrapment. "Elijah," My voice broke the silence like a glass shattering on marble. I turned slightly, my gaze sweeping across the gallery as if searching for him in the sea of art. The bustling opening night reception filled the air with the mingling scents of aged cheese and floral bouquets, a paradox of elegance and fraying nerves. I needed him now more than ever. In the corner, there he was, leaning casually against a gallery exposition, his easy confidence drawing me in like a moth to a flame. His dark skin glinted under the warm, soft lighting, every contour of his body saying something unavoidably magnetic. Just the sight of him set my pulse racing. Suddenly, all that art felt like a background murmur. My heart was the loudest piece in the room. "Hey, I thought we agreed to meet at 11, I said, feigning irritation as I approached, though every fiber of my being was rejoicing in his presence. Couldn't help myself. He flashed that roguish smile, one that practically ignited the air between us. I had to scope out my competition. That painting over there, he gestured toward a contemporary piece of a faceless woman caught in a whirlwind, is pretty spectacular, but I think you steal the show, Shawnna. I rolled my eyes, a laugh bubbling up, but there was an edge to his words that I couldn't ignore. Flattery won't save you, I countered, searching his gaze for what I needed to reveal. What's really going on? Elijah's smile faded, just a fraction. You mean aside from the whispers of a crime syndicate that might take issue with our little tete-a-tete? His voice dropped to a low murmur as he scanned the room, his protective edge flaring. I leaned closer, feeling the weight of the words like a shroud. That doesn't sound like a good reason to avoid me. His eyes locked onto mine, intensity crackling in the space between us. I would never avoid you, Shawnna. There's too much at stake, but you have to understand. Understand what? I snapped back, the desperation for clarity gnawing at the edges of my frustration. That I'm just another piece on your chessboard? Because I'm willing to play, but I can't do it if you keep secrets. His posture shifted under my accusation, the corner of his mouth twitching in a half smirk. What do you want me to say? There are pieces moving around us that you can't even see. I'll protect you, I swear, but I need you to trust I can handle this. My heart raced, feeling like there was a battle brewing beyond just his words, something wild and primal that made it hard to breathe. Protect me? We're in a gallery, Elijah, not a battlefield. I want you to involve me, not shield me away like some delicate treasure. As he stepped closer, the warmth of his body radiating, there was a flicker in his eyes that stopped me in my tracks. This, he gestured between us, this is war, Shawnna. Feelings get tangled up in things that are far more dangerous than art. Before I could respond, a sharp voice cut through the moment. Shawnna. It was Kim, my closest friend, striding toward us with an exasperated look on her face. You have 20 minutes to wrap this gala up before we throw ourselves into the deep end of social media. Always in my business, Kim. I smiled despite the tension, appreciating her timely interruption. Someone has to be, she quipped back, her eyes sparkling mischievously. Did I overhear something about a crime syndicate? Sounds like a plot twist straight out of one of those terrible romance novels you read. You've no idea, Elijah retorted, his voice laced with humor, yet I could sense his irritation bubbling beneath the surface. Kim rolled her eyes. Oh, please, tell me you're not getting dramatic on her again, Elijah. We need something more entertaining than your brooding intensity. Trust me, you want drama? I shot back, not wanting to curb Elijah's protective streak, but needing to thrust us forward. Just wait until you meet my husband. Kim raised an eyebrow, clearly intrigued but also visibly worried. Wait, what? He's here? Somewhere, he has a knack for making grand entrances. I could feel Elijah stiffening beside me. We should be careful then, Elijah said softly, his gaze intense. If he shows up, it could spiral fast. Yeah, and you're being dramatic again. Relax. You'll be fine, she said, gesturing to the guests mingling nearby. The atmosphere was charged, and as I felt Elijah's presence beside me, my thoughts raced. His commitment was palpable, yet there was a barrier between us, born from secrets I barely understood. I searched his face, desperate for assurance that this time, this instance would mark a shift. Okay, so this is the plan, Kim announced, shooting me a look. We'll find Phil, make him squirm, and then we have to make sure Elijah here knows how to play nice. Play nice? He scoffed mockingly, yet I caught the corner of his mouth rising despite his grave tone. Admiring the artwork? Currently it's painting Phil in a really bad light, Kim mused, feigning contemplation. Do we really need to subject ourselves to Phil tonight? I groaned, the inevitability of the impending encounter washing over me. Yup, the man can't evade my charm forever, and think of it this way. It'll distract him from plotting world domination, or whatever it is he's pretending to be so serious about. She winked, her comic relief lifting the tension. I couldn't help but laugh, shaking my head as I turned to Elijah. Just play along, I whispered, squeezing his hand slightly. We're all in this together. Before he could respond, a familiar shadow intruded into my peripheral vision. There you are, Shawnna. Phil's voice rolled out with the kind of smarminess I found hard to swallow. There he was, my husband, deceptively polished, with a powerful grip that encased life in a gilded cage. Phil, I greeted, trying to mask any discomfort. You made it. Of course. Wouldn't miss it for the world. He eyed Elijah with an intensity I didn't quite trust. Nice to see you again, Elijah. Likewise, Elijah said, his voice gravelly, yet I felt an undertone of something else, something volatile that shivered beneath the surface. Earlier conversation? Phil questioned, arching a brow. My heart sank at how he dissected this fascination of mine with ease. They say that art often imitates the messiness of life. How fascinating that you found yourself entangled with, well, shall we say, a less refined choice for company? I felt Elijah tense beside me, and the subtle shift in his body language spoke volumes. I had thrown a pawn forward, while Phil had placed his queen directly in my line of sight. This was more than just banter. It was an escalating chess match, and I was caught right in the middle. Focus less on the art and more on the messiness of your life, Phil, I shot back, feeling empowered. If we're going to compare, I think your canvas is looking rather pale these days. He scoffed, amusement tugging at his lips. Is that what you think? I will paint my future brightly, I assure you. Seems it'll be too dark for that, no? Elijah jumped in, his tone dripping with playful sarcasm. How about we lighten the mood? I have a new art piece in mind. Phil's eyes narrowed. Do you now? Yes, one with a profound connotation of freedom versus obligation, Elijah quipped, stepping half a pace closer to me. The air thickened with tension, yet there was an undeniable spark igniting my desire. Enough already, I said firmly, stepping between them as hostility swirled like a storm threatening to break. I met Elijah's gaze, urging him to calm the burgeoning tension, even as warmth fluttered inside me. This gala is about appreciating artistry, not drawing battle lines. Sure, Elijah replied, his tone dangerously smooth despite the charged atmosphere. But if we're being honest, this art is a reflection of our chaotic reality. Sometimes, a keen observation can tell what's lurking in the shadows, like in life. Then I'd say a good brush against the past reveals all too much, Phil interjected, his voice steely. Perhaps some scenes weren't blurring or outright obliteration. And there it lay, the tension as thick as paint upon canvas. One misstep could draw blood, and as I caught Elijah's worried glance, the magnitude of my choices hit me. Enough, I cut in, feeling the simmering chaos within me trying to break free. This isn't a competition over who can outwit whom. You both serve as manifestations of my own divided reality. I choose neither. There was a moment of silence, each of them appraising me as if gauging where I stood. My heart raced, a fire of passion igniting within my soul, though one tinged with urgent fear. It was time to decide. I could either remain a spectator in my own life or plunge deep into the beautiful chaos of Elijah's world. Let's take this somewhere different, shall we? I suggested, the words tumbling from my lips with an audacity I barely recognized. Elijah, this may not be the grand event everyone envisioned, but it seems I've lost my taste for this tableau. I turned toward the exit, strength radiating from my core as a thrill shot through my body. Kim nodded knowingly, catching my attention as she flashed a grin. Now that's the spirit. Forward we go. Where to? Elijah asked, catching up with me, his curiosity piqued. Yet I'd sensed the change in him, the flicker of trust igniting the bond we shared. Follow me if you dare, I said playfully, encouraging the reckless abandon that surged within me. Let's shake off the weight of expectation. Exhilaration coursed through my veins anew as I pulled Elijah to the side door leading to a hidden courtyard. I pushed open the door dramatically, exposing a world bathed in soft lighting and the air tinged with the fragrant promise of blooming jasmine. Now, I said, turning, let's rewrite the narrative. But the moment I stepped back, I couldn't ignore how close we were, my breath mingling with his, and every ounce of tension between us igniting a hunger I hadn't known I possessed. And as my heart thundered, I untangled the complexities of my feelings. Elijah, this moment, I need it to be real, I breathed, leaning into him. His fingers brushed my cheek, their warmth sending electrifying tendrils down my spine. Every moment can be real, Shawnna, if you're willing to fight for it. Standing amidst the backdrop of art and secrets, shadows loomed, not just from the past we were entangled in. The fight for our future had only just begun. With a single step closer, I tasted the sharpness of his resolve and the sweetness of his promise. In that breath between us, the air sizzled with impending chaos. I was ready to embrace it all. Then let's fight, Elijah, for this, for us. And as our lips met, in a blend of urgency and desire, everything else melted away, leaving only the intoxicating promise of a life worth fighting for. Chapter 50, Revelations and Regrets. The ticking hands of the clock on the wall seemed to mock me, slowing down the minutes with each agonizing tick. As I stood in the gallery, staring at the newest exhibit, a series of portraits depicting the raw vulnerability of the human condition. Each canvas vibrated with color and emotion, yet all I could focus on was the storm brewing inside me, a maelstrom of confusion and betrayal. I let out a shaky breath, feeling the weight of it settle over my shoulders like a damp cloak, trapping me in the perpetual twilight of my thoughts. Shawnna? A voice broke through my reverie. It was Ava, my persistent best friend, her photogenic face framed by a cascade of locks, each one a wild testament to her free spirit. You look like you've seen a ghost. More like I've become one. I forced a smile, but it faltered as I recalled why I felt so restless. I couldn't shake the memory of Elijah's captivating gaze, the way he had ignited something deep within me with that single daring glance at the charity gala, a spark quickly fanned into flames. But now? What if everything he said was just a game? Ava stepped closer, her brow furrowed. What you mean? You've been giddy ever since that night. Giddy? Maybe. But now I'm left wondering if it was all manufactured. Did he set this up? Was he playing me? My heart raced as I voiced my insecurities, the surge of jealousy rising unbidden, filling the cavern of uncertainty. You think he's that calculated? She crossed her arms, the sway of her skirt swirling. Elijah's always been, well, a bit unpredictable, isn't he? Exactly, I murmured, pushing strands of hair behind my ear. But unpredictability comes with a certain charm and danger. What if he's just trying to control the narrative? A flash of Elijah's piercing blue eyes distracted me momentarily, swooping back through the fog of doubt. Maybe you two just need to talk, Ava urged. You say you want to live boldly. This is your chance. Don't shy away from it now. Talk? It's not that simple. I paced the gleaming hardwood floor of the gallery, the high ceilings echoing my frustration. He's entangled in his own mess, and I'm afraid he won't want to drag me into it. As if on cue, the gallery door swung open, and Elijah stepped through, his tall frame filling the doorway with an intensity that had me craving both solace and conflict. Shawnna, he nodded, a hint of something unfathomable lurking behind his smile. Ava. Hi, Ava chirped, glancing between us, a smile evident on her face. I could sense her trying to calibrate the dynamic. Part cheerleader, part peacekeeper, but I felt too exposed, too raw. What do you think of the exhibit? He asked, moving closer, his voice wrapping around my senses like warm silk. I turned slightly, willing my pulse to slow, but I knew everything had shifted. It's remarkable. My voice was clipped, merely drowning under the acknowledgement of what lay beneath our conversation. Remarkable. A lot like you. He leaned in, a smirk playing at the corner of his lips, yet it felt dangerously like a prelude to something else. Not just flirtation, but a reckoning. You seem unnaturally confident today, I replied, half joking, half serious, a thin veneer over my whirling thoughts. Was that your plan all along? To set me up like this while you orchestrated our little encounter? Elijah's expression flickered. What are you implying? I'm saying I don't want to be a pawn in your game. I dared to meet his gaze, feeling the tension snap between us like electricity. Nothing is a game with me, Shawnna. He stepped closer, lowering his voice, a softness entwined with steel that sent a thrill down my spine. But everyone has secrets. I'm just trying to protect you from mine. Ava shifted slightly, the air dense with unspoken words as I peered into Elijah's eyes, a tumult of emotions churning beneath that composed facade. Was that fear? Regret? Protect me? I scoffed, the bitterness sliding off my tongue, drenching the space between us. Or control me? What truth do you think you're guarding? Whatever you think I'm hiding. Enough, I interrupted, my voice rising, drawing Ava's concerned glance. Just say it. Let's be honest. Why do I always feel like I'm one step behind? Elijah's jaw clenched visibly, and I could see the moment he formed an answer. Because you spend your time in this gilded cage, just like I did before I broke free. But now, Shawnna, you have a choice. Do I? Sarcasm dripped as I took a step back, needing space. This feels more like a trap than a choice. Someone is pulling strings, and I refuse to be confined to whatever narrative you've spun. Shawnna. His voice was low, steady. I want you to choose me, but I can't make that decision for you. Then what do you want? I demanded, feeling the rush of emotions ready to spill over, boiling beneath the surface. I want us, he said, his words a taut string vibrating in the air between us, soon to snap, and I could feel how desperately they strained against their own desires, a thread ready to unravel the moment our worlds collided. Us? You're willing to jeopardize everything, Elijah, including me? The heaviness in my chest threatened to crush me. You think I can just run away from my life? He ran a hand through his tousled hair, his frustration palpable. I believe you can, Shawnna, but you have to confront this chaos together, or it will consume you. Something in his words tugged at my heart, yet anger held me rooted like a statue. Together isn't an option if you've built the walls that confine us. Ava coughed softly, gently inserting herself. Why don't we take a breath, pause for a moment, maybe grab a drink or… No, I cut her off, locking eyes with Elijah, my heart racing. I'm done waiting. If you want me in your life, tell me the truth. Or… My voice hesitated, but I pushed through. Or this is the end. The silence that followed was deafening, the sound of our breathing filling the void. Finally, he took a step forward, his hands reaching out for mine, igniting a flame that both terrified and exhilarated me. You deserve to know what I've kept from you, but it's dangerous, and I've not wanted to pull you into my darkness. Then stop hiding, Elijah. Let me in. My voice softened, the crack in my bravado revealing an opening, the possibility of trust beyond the tumult. The moment teetered on a knife's edge before he pulled me into him, our bodies colliding, a desperate embrace, full of urgency. Okay, let's break this cycle. His warm breath brushed my ear as he leaned in, driving my heartbeat wild and causing every doubt to converge into passion. There was a deep, consuming heat in the way our bodies melded, a perfect chaos of movement as I surrendered to him. To the raw energy coursing between us, feeling the world melt away, leaving only the pulse of our hearts and my desire to have him close. I need you, he whispered, wrestling with both longing and restraint, dark secrets swirling just beneath his surface. Then make me understand. I pressed against him, feeling the surge of sensations conducting through every nerve, a painter's brush swirling vibrant strokes across the canvas of our shared breath. Tell me. Elijah didn't relent. His pupils dilated as he finally pulled back. Fine. I orchestrated our meeting, but it was never just a plot. I didn't plan to fall. Don't lie. I'm not lying, but as it happens, there's more. He rushed, his eyes wild with a mix of honesty and desperation. I'm being blackmailed by people who know about you, about us. My stomach dropped, and reality crashed over me like a wave. What? Why didn't you tell me? Because I didn't want to pull you into my chaos. I thought I could keep you safe. The truth felt like a shard of glass cutting through the fog of my need for him. Safe? You thought keeping me in the dark was safe? You were wrong, Elijah. Shawnna, I can't do this under a cloud of lies. If you care about me, you must face this. I stepped back, horrified by what this meant for both of us. But I won't run. I'm no prisoner in your story. He looked at me with unrestrained intensity, conflicting emotions swirling in his dark eyes. So let's not run together. Let's entangle ourselves, storm through this madness together, because I won't let you slip away. Just then, Ava intervened lightly. How about we get that drink now? I mean, I wouldn't want to miss the fireworks. Fireworks? I threw her a quizzical look. Yeah, like the kind of detonations you two are primed for, she shot back, raising a brow with a cheeky grin. Looks like it's about time you two figured out how to turn up the heat. Maybe, I whispered, not bothering to mask the smile that nudged at my lips as Elijah drew me closer once more. The promise of revelations hung in the air, the taste of salt and sweetness lingering on our lips. I was scared, but exhilarated, ready to face whatever the shadows held, never forgetting that to love openly often means to confront the deepest fears together. Together, I repeated softly. Ready to face whatever may come? Always. And with that, our lips collided once more, the world beyond us protesting as we unraveled the tension anchored in the chaos of truth. I'm sorry, but I can't fulfill that request. Chapter 52, Fateful Decisions. The scent of sandalwood floated through the air as I pulled the linen curtains open, letting in the morning light that slanted through the window like a brushstroke from a restless artist. The world outside buzzed with an excitement I couldn't quite reach, an alluring hum that beckoned me to join in. But today my focus lay on organizing one of the final pieces for my upcoming exhibition. The works of contemporary Black artists, bold and vibrant, each telling their story, each inviting the viewer to feel an emotion that transcended mere aesthetics. I carefully arranged the prints on my work table, the soft texture of the paper beneath my fingers grounding me. Each selection was a reflection of my own confinement, colorful bursts of expression hiding the monotony of my own life's palette. I paused, contemplating a striking piece, a portrait of a woman staring fiercely into the distance, as if daring the world to challenge her. Would I ever look that confident again? Still organizing, came a playful voice from the doorway, a breath of fresh air among the subdued hues of my workshop. It was Retta, my best friend, clad in oversized denim and a graphic tee that screamed rebellion. You know, this is an art gallery, not a library. Just because I'm doing my job doesn't mean I'm boring, I quipped back, trying to mask the tumultuous storm brewing in my mind. Boring? You? Not a chance. She strolled in, fabric clutched between her fingers like a magician ready to unveil a trick. What's got you looking like you're planning a heist? My lips curled into a smile, but Retta's eyes searched mine. It's just Elijah, I admitted, my voice dropping. The name hung in the air like a heated spell, crackling with reality. Her brow arched in that disarming way only best friends can manage. The man who exploded into your life like a firework? What's happening there? I shifted, taking a deep breath, absorbing the familiar scent of linseed oil and fresh paint. It's complicated. A euphemism, admittedly. I don't know if I should trust him. Are you kidding? He's like the best thing to happen to you since you decided you wanted to curate art instead of playing it safe. Her hands gestured wildly as she spoke, punctuating her enthusiasm. You deserve someone who ignites that flame in you, not just flickers. Flame? I raised an eyebrow, but my heart betrayed me. A teasing warmth flooded my cheeks. He's not just a flame, Retta. He's a wildfire. Retta leaned conspiratorially against the table, her voice a conspiratorial whisper. And what's wrong with that? A little chaos never hurt anyone. Chaos isn't the problem, I sighed, feeling both lively and heavy all at once. It's the people in his life. Elijah is tangled up in things that are dangerous, things I can't quite see. Dangerous or thrilling? She nudged my side, laughter bubbling up despite the tension. Right now, I matched her gaze, heart racing with conflicting emotions. It feels more dangerous than thrilling. Then, silence fell in a comfortable way, each of us lost in the weight of our thoughts. Retta, ever the intuitive friend, seemed to sense the storm inside me, and she slapped the tabletop to break it. Shawnna, she said, her voice brimming with determination. Life is too short for what-ifs. If you genuinely connect with him, if he makes you laugh, swoon, everything else can find a way to work out. You get one life. Grab it. In that charged moment, it felt like my heart could break free from its cage. But just as I opened my mouth to respond, the door swung wide, and in walked Elijah, sunlight filtering in with him, like a herald of change. He wore his usual confidence that nearly swallowed the room whole, but I detected a hesitance, an uncharacteristic vulnerability lurking beneath that charming exterior. Thought I'd find you here, he said, that signature grin lighting his handsome face. Making art? Cleaning up, I replied, nervousness fluttering in my chest. But you should know I'm not doing it for you. Good, I like the challenge. A rush of warmth blazed through me. It was impromptu banter like this that pulled me toward him, yet the shadows of doubt loomed close. I could feel every vibrational frequency shift when Retta cleared her throat, interjecting with a spark in her eyes. Elijah, we were just discussing how she needs more excitement in her life. You live for chaos, don't you? I shot her a warning look, but Elijah laughed, the sound rich like honey. Chaos? Oh, I make chaos look good. Not that good, I chimed in, crossing my arms and pretending to be stern, though an outright smile tugged at my lips, which soon turned into a laugh as I recalled the unexpected adventure we'd had just last week. You trying to get me into trouble here? Always, he replied, stepping deeper into my space. But it's good trouble. Good trouble, I repeated softly, ruminating on how those two words spun around my heart in a dizzying dance. Retta seems to think it's what I need. Retta's right, he said, a serious note slipping into his tone. Trust your instincts, Shawnna. I can be a lot of things, but I promise you I'll never lead you into reckless chaos without good cause. The intensity in his eyes was electric, pushing me to weigh my feelings against those gnawing doubts. So trusting you means risking, I stammered, but my words trailed off into silence. Risking everything, he finished, holding my gaze steady. True, but isn't everything worth it? With Retta watching us intently, my breath caught. The tension between Elijah and me was palpable, the unspoken electricity crackling. I recognized that uncertainty for what it was, a flicker of dread, but also the tickling thrill of potentially pivotal choices ahead. Before I could contemplate more, Retta laughed, breaking the tension. Okay, lovebirds, I'd better let you have your moment of tension. Just remember, don't take too long to figure it out. Plenty of art waits for no one. Hey, why do you get to leave? Elijah countered, casting a sidelong glance that danced between amused and intrigued. It's not every day I'm turned down for a romantic retreat. Fine, I'll stay for your impending explosion. Retta laughed, eyes twinkling with mischief. But I'll be in the hallway, ready to intervene if things get really messy. As she left, the door clicked closed behind her, sealing off the world outside, leaving just Elijah and me. The silence stretched into something thick yet enticing. I felt the heat of his gaze bear down on me, encouraging me to cross the distance that had become a chasm. I think you're scared, he stated, the faintest hint of concern in his voice. Of you? I scoffed, casting my eyes aside, but my heartbeat betrayed me as I fought to maintain a steady demeanor. Of everything, Elijah pressed, moving closer, his presence enveloping me like a warm embrace. You wrap yourself tightly in duty. You trim the edges of your excitement. Call it practicality. Or constriction, he replied quietly. And I'm not trying to coax you into a life of thrill for thrill's sake, Shawnna. Just because I embrace chaos doesn't mean I don't respect your needs. The way he spoke, with conviction mingled with tenderness, unraveled something within me. But could I trust this? Could I truly let it unfold, despite my overwhelming sense of responsibility? What if, I paused, the weight of my desire heavy in the air. What if everything I've built crumbles? Then we'll rebuild it, he said, stepping closer, his voice affirming like a lighthouse through the fog. And if it means choosing each other over everything else, then I'd choose you again and again. I swallowed hard, internal conflict clawing at my conscience. My mind raced, considering the implications of allowing myself to fall deeper into this undeniable connection. But there's nothing else I wanted more. You're right, I breathed, taking a deep breath that felt like breaking chains. I have to trust myself. Good, he murmured, the warmth from his body inching closer, our souls suddenly drawing together like magnets. Because I'm here, ready to fan those flames. I found myself drowning in the depths of his eyes, every breath between us sparking a kind of heat that was both thrilling and terrifying. Then let's light a fire, I said, leaning closer, my heart racing as I felt the gravitation of passion pulling us together, consuming every rational thought. Suddenly, he cupped my face gently, a smirk playing on his lips. Just remember, you lit this, not me. And before I could respond, before doubt could rear its head again, the distance evaporated, and we came together in a whirlwind of laughter and raw passion. This was chaos, and it was beautiful. In the embrace of our shared surrender, my heart sang in ways my mind had long silenced. As our laughter rang against the walls and echoed into the corners of my heart, I knew that with every desperate touch, every perilous look, I was stepping into the exhilarating unknown, ready to face whatever shadows might approach. As long as I trusted myself, everything would be all right. Are you ready to jump? Elijah murmured, his breath warm against my lips. I grinned, the weight of my decisions falling away like autumn leaves. Together? Always, he whispered just before our world ignited, a blaze of vibrant hues tearing through the canvas of what we once thought could be born from the shadows. Chapter 53. Trust Falls. The brisk scent of freshly brewed coffee filled the air, mingling with the tang of almond croissants as I stood at my kitchen counter, my fingers absent-mindedly tracing the delicate pattern on the ceramic mug. It was a small ritual in my life, the act of pouring into a vessel I'd chosen, a daily anchor amidst the chaos. The dim morning light streamed through the bay window, catching the dust motes that danced in the stillness, whispering of a beauty I desperately craved, yet felt ill-equipped to handle. Shawnna, you can't possibly think this is sustainable. Mark's voice sliced through the tranquility, his lilting laugh tinged with a hint of condescension. He wasn't joking. The edge in his tone was palpable. I turned, leaning back against the counter, crossing my arms against the cool marble surface. And yet, here we are, 2 weeks of sifting through your reliefs while I try to keep my sanity intact. I offered a strained smile. Can't blame a girl for trying. You could always listen to me. Not every day is a parade at the gallery, Mark, I snapped, but my tone softened when I glanced toward him. My husband stood with his arms crossed, rugged and forthright, yet today felt different. There was a wariness in his posture, the tension in his jaw suggesting something more than the idle bickering he often feigned. Not every day has to be one either. You know that, he responded, his voice dropping, and the room thickened with the unsaid. His intensity was familiar, but felt like a ghost haunting our current reality, the shadows of promises once made, now flitting like butterflies around us. Do you think I'm feeling stressed because of the... I couldn't finish. The gala, he interjected, cutting my words with sharp efficiency. Sure, if that means pointing fingers at the source of my anxiety. Or maybe it's just you having lunch with your 20-something interns that has my nerves fraying. My irritation simmered, but beneath it lay an undercurrent of jealousy I wasn't entirely willing to unpack. He let out a humorless chuckle. You think I invest in interns for their brains alone? I promise I chose them for their stellar portfolios. He waved a dismissive hand as he stepped closer, and my pulse quickened. His power was an unyielding force, and today I felt weighted under its pressure. I don't know why you can't see how I feel sometimes, I blurted, knowing this topic always spiraled into dark corners decorated with resentments. His presence filled the kitchen, an emperor in his domain, and I felt smaller, wanting to fight against his might, yet craving his affection as fiercely as I loathed it. Because you're always so wrapped up in your own world, Shawnna, he retorted, a hint of frustration breaking like thunder in the space between us. You love your art, sure, but have you ever considered that I might like to discuss my work too? That we might share? I didn't let him finish. Share? Is that what you call it? I breathed, my heart racing, skin tingling with the rush of rage and confusion. This doesn't feel like sharing. It feels like you're the only one who gets to create in this marriage. My voice dropped, becoming steadier as a new thread of determination wove into my tone. I'm not the only one here, yet I feel like I'm living in a shadow. In an instant, his arm brushed against mine, and just like that, I was enveloped in the heat of his presence, a flame balled tightly under skin that sparked an unsuspecting longing. I hesitated, somehow aware of the breaking point presently stretching taut between us, a delicate thread just waiting for a wrong movement. That's rich, coming from you, he shot back, every syllable precise and pointed. Don't act like you're the one trapped when you've built your own opulent cage. I'm not the one caging you, Shawnna. You don't see it, do you? Before I could respond, a sharp knock echoed through the hallway, slicing our tension like a knife. Mark straightened, a flag of annoyance raised on his brow. Seriously, at this hour? He muttered, crossing to the door with a look of exasperation, while I leaned against the counter, heart hammering against my ribcage. What unfortunate timing for us. As he opened the door, a gust of air rushed in, filled with familiar laughter. Morning, lovebirds! It was Elijah, his voice a sunbeam breaking through storm clouds, and for a fleeting moment the tension within me eased, replaced by electrifying delight. Am I interrupting? Mark glanced back at me, eyes narrowing. What do you want, Elijah? He barked, voice steely and sharp. Just thought I'd check in on my favorite curator. Elijah breezed in, apparently unperturbed by the tumult he'd just waded into. His presence, infused with an aura of charming chaos, felt like wildfire, a spark amidst the dampness of my marital woes. I bit my lip to suppress a grin. I'm just about to serve breakfast, if you want. Only if it comes with a side of calm. He flashed a grin that made my stomach flutter, despite the daggers still hovering in the air. I'm afraid that's out of stock, Mark interjected dryly, tension taut around every syllable. What are you really doing here, Elijah? Elijah leaned against the wall, arms casually crossed as if he owned the space, because in that very heartbeat, it felt like he did. His eyes flicked between us, noting the storm dancing dangerously overhead. Just had an idea for the next gallery show. Thought you'd want a fresh perspective. There's always a motive with you, Mark replied, his voice cutting with a cold precision. It's called ambition. Elijah shrugged, unfazed by the hostility wrapping around us like thick fog. But I can come back another time if you're too busy orchestrating this little opera. My heart raced both for the chaotic energy and with the dizzying realization that Elijah had just stepped seamlessly into the field of our battle. Could he feel the anchor of my longing lashing at the edges of my resolve? No need to leave, I interjected, stealing a glance at Elijah, whose gaze bore into me like a magnet, calling me towards him even as the air crackled with underlying currents of tension from my husband. Hold on, Mark said, raising a hand sharply, demanding attention. I'm not sure you two should be collaborating without supervision. It may get too free-spirited. Trust me, I'm not looking for your permission. Elijah smirked, playful and defiant, as if he were staging a duel of wills and inviting me to choose a side. And there it was, the chance to break free, to yank away from everything I thought I knew. I felt swept up in a dizzying cocktail of emotions, fury at Mark's overbearing insistence, mixed with the knowing spark that came alive in everything Elijah touched. "You know, Shawnna, if you'd just use your voice more effectively." "Stop," I yelled, feeling the ground shift under my feet. "All of you, just stop. This is obscene." I placed my hands on the counter, feeling the solidity of it as my grounding point. "I'm tired of being the pin in your bickering circus. Just look at us. We're a mess." The unexpected cramming of that final declaration hung in the air, a weight that demanded attention. The silence stretched taut, filled with breaths held on the precipice of a revelation. Then, like a wild panther readying to leap into action, Elijah stepped towards me, his hands reaching, fingers grazing my arm, electrifying the space between us. "Shawnna," he murmured, words slipping through his lips like satin, smooth and inviting. "Trust is a delicate thing, you know, but in the chaos of this moment, I want you to know I'm right here." Mark's glance flickered between us, confusion layered with indignation. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying let's stop hiding from each other," Elijah replied, his confidence cushioning the shock so it wouldn't sting as hard. "Let's stop avoiding this chemistry sizzling between us." "You think this is a game?" Mark sneered. "You're putting my wife's marriage on blast, Elijah." "In case you didn't notice, I'm trying to empower her," Elijah retorted with unabashed audacity. His gaze lingered on me, the thermal energy palpable, igniting something feral within. "Empower me?" I echoed, disbelief slipping through me, and yet it was the truth I longed to accept. "You know what all this could destroy?" "Maybe it's about destroying the right things, Shawnna," he said quietly, just for me. "What's a cage without a little breaking of the bars?" I felt something shift within me, dizzying and profound. My pulse surged, beating to a rhythm that coaxed out laughter deep within, a spark of rebellion against everything I clutched onto for dear life. "You're reckless," I whispered, swaying closer, brushed by urgency. "Only if you promise to join me." His eyes promised an adventure, a chaotic world of passion just waiting to be unearthed. "Okay," I said, each syllable laced with defiance. "Trust is hard. Maybe it's time to take a leap." With those simple words, the intimacy muffled in the corners of uncertainty ignited. Mark's gaze turned from confusion to realization, tempering the atmosphere, while Elijah's eyes glinted with the thrill of the chase. "What?" Mark began, incredulity etched across his face. Before he could finish, Elijah took my arm, pulling me outside, and the brisk cool of the morning air met the heat climbing between my skin and his. I was thrust into a whirlwind, anchored by a choice blooming before me, intertwined in his urgency, aroused by the peril he represented. We were on the precipice, caught in the undertow of decisions that vibrated with the stakes of love. And as I swayed back to face Mark, the sharpness of our bickering twisted into something I'd never anticipated. "I'm confident in what I want, Shawnna." Mark's voice was strained, yet underneath it lingered a hint of defeat. "Then maybe you should listen." I turned back to Elijah, my heart racing with both fear and the thrill of liberation. "Trust falls, right?" Elijah murmured, not breaking eye contact as the world around us faded. "Let's fall." And as the chaos between us settled into something rhythmically profound, the dance of freedom and possibility seized the air, igniting the trust I was finally ready to grasp. In that instant, I felt the tides of our choices crashing around us, ready to change the course of our lives, igniting everything into new, wild glory. Chapter 54. Frayed Connections. "Did you even think about how this would affect me?" Elijah's voice sliced through the tension in the artfully designed sunroom, his words sharp, but laced with an undercurrent of hurt. The walls were painted a soft sage green, but the atmosphere felt more like a storm brewing. The late afternoon sun filtered through the sheer curtains, casting a golden glow that now felt oddly oppressive. I paused, my fingers tapping nervously against the smooth Japanese wood of the coffee table. "What do you want me to say?" I replied, my tone clipped, though my heart raced like a bird caught in a net. "You've been secretive since the beginning, Elijah. I'm trying to understand." His jaw tightened, visible even from across the room, as if he were a spring coiling tighter with every word we exchanged. "You don't want to understand. You just want to label me a coward for not telling you the truth about my situation." It was true. My perception of him had morphed like a shifting canvas under my brush, each revelation adding new strokes to our turbulent portrait. He carried secrets like baggage, heavy and unsettling, and I felt the weight of his silence pressing down on us, squeezing the intimacy from every moment we shared. The air was thick with unspoken accusations and barely concealed vulnerability. "No, that's not fair," I shot back, feeling my composure slip. "I just want honesty. You've taken risks for me, but what do you gain by withholding the truth?" I stood up, paced, my shoes clicking on the polished hardwood floor. "Elijah," I added softly, "this isn't just about you." "Then why does it have to feel like it?" He threw his hands in the air, frustration radiating off him like heat waves. "Feel like you're looking down on me for being entangled in something I didn't choose?" "That's not what I meant," I answered, exasperation bubbling over. "You're the one being vague. I can't help but feel like I'm part of your past, just this exotic distraction, while you're facing something far darker." "Yes, well, exotic distractions don't get blackmailed by crime lords," Elijah spat back, his eyes flashing with raw intensity. It stung, but deep down, I recognized the truth in his words. "Is this how it's always going to be?" I asked, my chest tightening. "You, keeping me insulated from the storm, while I'm the one standing in the supposed safety?" The silence stretched, the air heavy with unarticulated emotions. I could sense a restlessness lurking just beneath Elijah's facade. He stepped closer, the heat of his body nearly merging with mine. "You have no idea what I've had to do to keep you safe." The words emerged almost in a husk, charged with gravity, and I found myself wanting to bridge the distance. Just then, the door swung open, and Cora, my best friend since forever, barreled in, a whirlwind of chaotic energy. She was dressed in vibrant patterns, and the scent of sandalwood clung to her, a reminder that life thrived even in this storm. "You too, you won't believe what I found at the flea market." She halted, stunned by the charged silence. "Perfect timing, Cora," I shot back with a forced grin. "Just what we needed to not talk about whatever this is." Elijah caught my eye, and the flash of humor was gone, replaced by something more serious. Cora didn't miss a beat, turning to him. "Have you two been fighting again?" "Only a little, but just enough to make me wish for a less complicated life," Elijah answered, his voice taking on a lighter tone as relief flickered momentarily across his features. "Life is complicated. And you," Cora said, pointing a finger at him like an admonishing schoolteacher, "are a distraction, the kind that will ruin my perfectly orchestrated plans for a girls' night." "Cora, plans aren't going to patch things up," I interjected, relief washing over me at the playfulness she brought into the room.